Anubha ma'am, good afternoon.
Hello, Anubha ma'am.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon,
afternoon.
Sanjana. Good afternoon, Madhavi. Let me start my video as well.
Yeah. We'll start in just a few minutes, ma'am.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. We can.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon,
afternoon.
Sanjana.
Good afternoon to one and all. A warm welcome to you all in the 5th day of our e-Shodhyatra. We have very interesting 2 theoretical sessions and 1 practical session for today. Session 6 on open access, concept and philosophy. Session 7 on adopting to OA, open access. And 4th practical session on reference manager, Zotero, which is an open source tool. So the umbrella topic for today is open access. We all by now know that open access is something where any searcher of information can get access to the information freely. Access without paywalls, access which is open to all. Though the concept of open access is 2 decades old, but yet there are a lot of questions which arise in the mind of the searcher. That if the scholarly material is available freely, what is the role of the publisher in it? If an author wants to publish in an open access journal, how do he or she go about it? Is it safe to publish in open access? Does OA give more citations since it reaches more? It can be accessed by everyone and anyone. Does OA mean compromising on quality? Do OA journals have good impact factor? Do authors have copyright over their OA published paper? All this and many more. To get the answers for all this, we need to know the philosophy behind the open access. We need to get our concepts cleared to understand why open access is important. And only then one would know the real benefits of open access for a researcher. So to discuss the philosophy and concept of OA, we have with us Ms. Anubha Sinha. We welcome Anubha Sinha on behalf of Institute of Chemical Technology and Vivekananda Education Society's College of Arts, Science and Commerce to this TechWith supported 7-day national level capacity building program, e-Shodhyatra, Emerging Trends and Technologies in Scholarly Communication. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank
Just a,
you.
just a brief introduction to her. Ms. Anubha Sinha is a researcher at Center for Internet and Society, India. She is a lawyer by training and works on various digital rights issues, including copyright law and openness. So with this, we welcome you once again, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhavi, for that introduction and also for introducing the topic and the very relevant questions so well. So thank you for having me here and a warm welcome to everyone. So let me begin by first talking about what I do and what exactly is the sort of policy work that I've been involved in for the past couple of years. So I am a lawyer by training and I work as a researcher on copyright, openness, and other digital rights issues at the Center for Internet and Society, India. We are based out of both Delhi and Bangalore, and we've been working on the issue of open access since around about 2011. Now, open access in India has seen a very checkered journey, and I will sort of explain more recent policy developments towards the end of my talk. But right now, I'll briefly share as to the kind of policy initiatives and policy framing discussions I have been involved in with respect to open access. So in 2014, I had participated on the committee which was framing the Department of Biotechnology and Departments of Science and Technology open access policy. Since then, I have been involved in research and writing around the issue of open access. Last month, I was invited by the Department of Science and Technology to deliver a more focused talk on open access, which led to a very engaged discussion with a lot of academics. So, starting with the session now, I am definitely interested in knowing more about the various participants here, especially since that will help me sort of set the correct base for my discussion. And I'm mostly interested in knowing the kind of diversity I have in terms of the audience, whether you are studying for a bachelor's degree or are you pursuing a master's. I see a lot of doctorates here, and I'm very happy about that. So I'm just going to share a link with you all through chat. If you could just quickly, respond to the poll, and then we can move ahead from there. So here is a link, and if everyone could just take half a minute or a minute to quickly click and answer this poll, that would be very helpful for me. Thank you. Also, if you have already gotten your PhD, kindly just click on the PhD option. I didn't realize that there would be so many doctorates here, so apologies for that. Okay, so I think we can probably stop here. I think about 25 people have um, answered the poll, which is still fairly half. Okay, thanks, Madhavi. She has mentioned that there are mostly faculty members and PhD scholars as participants, so that sounds good. I think the poll also reflects that. Um, so here is the result. So that's great. So I'm hoping there will be a very strong connect with everything that I have to discuss today. Right. So moving on, I would also quickly want to know about the prevailing um, understanding of open access amongst the audience. So bear with me, and if you could answer this poll again here. One second. We can take a minute to complete this as well. Okay, we'll just wait for 30 seconds more and then we can end this poll. Okay, thank you to all who polled, and this is a very useful information to have. So let me now then start with stating the problem that open access, the movement, and the concept is essentially trying to solve. And I'll share a scenario. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened, but I think I got knocked off. Um, so I was saying that I will share a scenario of current dissemination and production of scientific research in India to just give you an idea about how serious the problem is and what is it that open access as a concept and as a movement is essentially responding to. So in 2017, scientific researchers in India produced about 1.4 lakh pieces of peer-reviewed literature, of which approximately 27,000 were open access publications. This essentially means that only 27,000 pieces of literature were available to the public to freely read and share, despite the fact that Indian taxpayers had funded half the annual expenditure of research and development that year. The remaining items were stuck behind expensive paywalls and subscription systems, and this was doing a huge service to the scientific ecosystem and the public interest. Now, it is safe to assume that the scenario since 2017 hasn't changed much. And this is the central problem that globally open access is attempting to solve. Now, the scenario in the global north countries, which is essentially the developed economies, is slightly different from what we face in global south countries, which are developing economies. And slowly, developing economies are progressing towards creating policies that support open access, but we are nowhere close to where we should be in terms of democratizing dissemination of knowledge. So with this, I will try to now explain or basically take you over the evolution of the philosophy around open access. And then after that, I will come to sharing some examples of successful open collaborative movements. And then after that, I will trace the development of open access policy making in India. So beginning with ancient Greece, the idea that knowledge and information should be freely shared and not be commoditized, that idea goes back to Plato and the group of philosophers known as sophists. Um, the sophists were the first group, in fact, in ancient Greece that had, um, asked for fees in exchange for teaching large groups of public. And back then, that was also frowned upon. But even though they did that, their understanding or their idea was never was to propertize or to encumber the knowledge that they were giving to the public. Whatever it is that they had shared, they had always thought that anyone else could pick up the same piece of knowledge and share it with anyone, in going ahead. Plato also came from the same school of thought. In fact, there was just one person who had, basically put down Plato's lectures in the form in manuscripts or in books, and then had gone ahead and, sold it off in another country. And that person was very, very widely condemned for trying to do something like that. So this sort of thinking goes back to those times where knowledge was considered to be a common that was too valuable to be propertized or to have any ownership over. So up until the medieval times, knowledge was thought to be a gift of God and something that could not be sold. And up until the medieval times, monasteries were the main seat of developing and dissemination of knowledge. And at the time, teachers in the monasteries were given gifts by the students in exchange for the services rendered. Then, around the medieval time, when universities took over this function, uh, the universities also continued to maintain a strict open access policy over all the intellectual resources that they had. Around the medieval time, there was a very prominent scholar in Rotterdam known as Erasmus. And he sort of propounded the idea that friends hold all things in common, and knowledge and ideas should be shared in the spirit of friendship. So Erasmus, not only was his idea sort of rooted in the spirit of commonality and in the spirit of sharing, but he's also an important inflection point because before Erasmus, you had a strong tradition of making sure that intellectual resources should be shared and should be open to all. But soon after Erasmus, the concept of copyright emerged. So even though copyright was beginning to sort of take root in the 17th century, um, this was around the time of the printing press. But slightly before that, in the 16th century is when written correspondence between scholars and exchange of manuscripts in the form of gifts started happening. So there was this practice that started emerging to sort of disseminate and share knowledge. So, in fact, the goal of the first printing press was inspired by this sort of a sharing philosophy. And the first printing press was the Oxford University Press. The goal of the press was to advance scholarship through making research available to fellow scholars rather than selling books. So this is a very important point to be noted here. It wasn't profit making. It wasn't trying to, own the knowledge that was sort of being shared. So this is then in the 17th century is when the institutionalization of knowledge in the terms of journals started happening. So, you have the first journal that was created by the Royal Society of London, known as Philosophical Transactions. This is the first modern peer-reviewed journal. So that's another sort of historical point to be sort of note. So then soon after this, with the emergence of copyright, there was this sudden shift and there was this notion of propertization that emerged around knowledge. So how did knowledge really turn into something as such as property? How did that understanding and notion change? Well, there are a few factors that have been identified. One is the takeover of the markets that started happening in the late 19th century and continued onwards. In more recent times, economic scholars have focused a lot on the evils of commons. I'm not sure if you have read the tragedy of the commons, which was supposed to basically show that over utilization of common resources can render the set of those common resources too sort of overused and overexploited and make it useless for anyone. So that is the sort of thinking that started emerging. The second idea there was that property rights induce more production, they induce more investment into a system. So then the conclusion followed that perhaps it is wise to, commoditize anything of value. So that's where, how the idea around like propertizing knowledge started taking root very, very strongly. So all of this supported the expansion of intellectual property rights also. So copyright has not been static from the 17th century. Slowly, the scope of protection, the kind of rights that people get have slowly and steadily expanded. And it has, somewhat been sort of in step with this sort of economic thinking that came about. Now, so the return of open access. So how did suddenly how did the realization come about that there is an over propertization of knowledge? Um, there was a movement that began to think about whether a proper balance was being struck between in copyright policies, basically, because copyright emerged as the vehicle that was enabling the propertization of knowledge. Now, before we move further, I'll try to explain what copyright essentially is for a better understanding of what the problem is insofar as open access is concerned. So copyright basically is a bundle of rights that is accorded to any piece of original, original creative work, and the works include everything from literature, books, to music, to cinema, to sculpture, to paintings, and so on and so forth. So this protection can be broken down into various rights, rights that are exclusively given to the person who owns the copyright. So the rights include, so let me explain to you what does it really mean to own copyright. So a copyright owner is the only person who basically can make copies of their work, who basically can permit anyone else to take their work and change it into something, to sort of maybe use it and incorporate it in their own works. So these are the kind of rights that are given to copyright owners. Now, often copyright owners tend to, license away their rights and, allow other people to use it freely, but that's a matter of contract and that's not we're getting into. We really need to focus on the kind of exclusivity that the copyright system offers to copyright owners. These rights are also not for a short period of time. These rights last really, really long. It's life of the author plus 60 years in many cases. In terms of cinema and it's slightly shorter, especially the owner is not a natural person. But this is the kind of terms that we're talking about. So you can imagine that if you are trying to enforce copyright over a certain work, then be rest assured that most people in their lifetimes might not be able to access a certain copyright work for free. So in this scenario, a lot of scholars have said that, we are in the middle of a serious enclosure of our intellectual environment. So, there is now enclosing of the commons of the mind that has also started happening. So there is this one quote that captures this problem really well, and it's by two of the prominent scholars in modern copyright law, Professor Bernd Hugenholz and Professor Lucy Gibald. They say that as a consequence of the transformation of the meaning of market power operated by the information economy, items of information in which the old economy had little or no economic value, such as factual data, personal data, genetic information, and pure ideas, they have now acquired independent economic value in the current information age and consequently become the object of property rights, meaning copyright, making information a tradable commodity. So this sort of a movement or a response to propertization of knowledge was emerging for a fair time. Then in the 90s, with the advent of the internet and digitization of knowledge, it's almost as if this movement got a shot in the arm. So today, so this was in fact recognized quite early, and you have the field of physics and you have the scientific field of biology, where in fact the norm is to distribute all the research via open access, and they started doing this really early. But not all disciplines were able to sort of create that sort of a cultural norm in their field. And we see a mix of practices happening today. But going back, I mean, the recognition that the digital age sort of has a higher capacity for dissemination of knowledge happened quite early. And this is something that the Nobel laureate Eleanor Ostrom also advocated very strongly. She was totally against propertization. She, in fact, critiqued the idea of the tragedy of commons. She conducted empirical studies that showed that common resources can be effectively managed by groups of people under suitable conditions, by creating appropriate rules, by creating good conflict resolution mechanisms, creating good group boundaries. So all you really need is good group governance. You need a suitable conditions to basically solve this problem of the tragedy of commons. And this is especially true for cultural commons and academic cultural commons uh, specifically. So what are the other examples of such, cultural commons that, we are more familiar with in, so to speak, popular culture? So Wikipedia is a sort of result of, commons backed initiative of this sort. You have Linux that, basically powers Android. You have YouTube, you have the entire sort of news ecosystem. So all of these are sort of based on an open and gift exchange models. And in fact, initially, large scale cooperative behavior to support a commons culture emerged in software communities and the academia. So another scholar that underscored the power of digital networks was Yochai Benkler. He really defined the high generative capacity of online commons as the wealth of networks. So he said that radical decentralization of intelligence in our communications network and the centrality of information, knowledge, culture, and ideas to advance economic activity are leading to a new stage of information economy. That is the networked information economy. So some other practical implementation of commons include, the free and open source software community. Creative Commons is an organization that has been steadily working towards building the commons and also ensuring proper use of the commons. Wikipedia is something that I've already mentioned. Okay, so now I will move to focus a little more on the contemporary state of open access. But before I do that, it would be really interesting to see what the practices are of sharing and accessing knowledge are amongst the group of people who are attending this lecture. So I'm going to share one final link to a poll, and let's take a minute to answer it, and then we'll see the results. So I've shared the link in the chat box. If we could all just take like half a minute to quickly answer it. Excuse me. So I'm sharing the results as well. Okay, I think this is fairly indicative. Thank you for polling. So, right, so it's really interesting to see that both Sci-Hub and institutional subscriptions are almost sort of equally favored. So I'm guessing that people here are very well versed with Sci-Hub, at least as much as I am. And yes, so Sci-Hub has emerged as a response to the gatekeeping in the knowledge ecosystem, and also the fact that most of our institutions cannot possibly subscribe to the entire universe of journals and journal articles. Um, and mostly it's been a price barrier issue. And that's where I think places like Sci-Hub and LibGen have filled the gap. So coming back to what open access essentially is. So open access is basically a knowledge movement. It's a global movement in academic publishing, especially. And the goal here is to allow information to flow more for information to flow more freely amongst researchers. It was in fact inspired by a dramatic increase in prices for journals and also publisher restrictions in terms of reuse of information. So, sorry. Um, so to quickly capture the essence here, open access is a response that tries to make public funded scientific research, um, you know, openly available, which means that this sort of information and knowledge should be made available without any legal, technical, and financial barriers to access and use of the research. So, by legal, for instance, I mean it should not be copyrighted to the extent that one cannot sort of make private copies of it, or they cannot share it with a colleague or something, or they cannot use it in their course for teaching. Then a technical barrier would be as simple as you not being able to make a downloadable PDF copy of that particular piece of literature. Financial is, of course, the prohibitive pricing of these journals and also individual articles. So basically, the twin barriers here are price and permissions barrier. Permissions again in terms of what are the kind of subsequent reuses that you can do with that article. The other issue that has been very problematic is the practice of selling journals to institutions in bundles. So that's something that a lot of institutions struggle with, because often some bundles may not carry the more relevant sort of journals for a field, and just sort of like they are sort of combined and split in a way that makes it difficult for any scholar to be able to comprehensively read the literature in their field. So this sort of a problem has been identified by governments as well. I mean, in the UK in 2004, there was a UK government report that came out, and they had indeed identified how stretched library budgets of institutions were becoming thanks to the exorbitant pricing of these journals and the bundles. In India, in 2007, if I'm not mistaken, the National Knowledge Commission had basically supported the principle that research that is funded by the public in public institutions, all of that research should indeed be made freely available for the public as well as the researchers to read. So from 2007 up until now, we have seen a fair bit of um, development that has happened in this space in terms of both policy creation and advocacy. There has been, in many ways, somewhat of an increase in awareness in Indian institutions and amongst Indian researchers on the importance on open access, and also on the importance of publishing open access journals, or making or depositing your research in the relevant institutional repositories. So one of the landmarks here is the 2014 policy of the DBT and the DST. it basically mandated that all researchers getting funds from the DBT, DST, deposit their article in the institutional repository. But the policy did not carry any sort of penalty or, strict compliance, terms. And as a result, there is still some sort of scattered adoption that has happened in as far as the performance of that policy is concerned. Then since then, we've seen also the central, uh, the Center for, this is the Council for Scientific Research, Industrial Research, the CSIR. It also has an open access policy. You have the Indian Institute for Mathematical Sciences. All of these institutions have, unilaterally sort of adopted open access policies. But even then, it is reported that a lot of researchers remain interested in publishing in the top journals, thanks to the influence that the journal impact factors have in a researcher's career. And this sort of an attitude also varies from field to field. So hence there has been somewhat of a difficulty in having a consensus or creating a unified position on what is the route we must take in terms of supporting open access. So that's something that the current government has been looking into. The principal scientific advisor of India, which is Mr. K. Vijayaraghavan, I think in 2018, the idea was to join Plan S, which was and which continues to be an international coalition of funders and countries who are interested in going down the gold open access route. Now, coming to the different kinds of open access routes that exist, the two most, excuse me, the two most common routes of publishing in open access are, one is the green open access and the other is the gold open access. The green open access is basically about putting a preprint version, and in some cases a postprint version as well, of the journal article in an institutional repository that's open to all. The second is the gold open access, where the author pays for the article to be published in an open access journal, which in turn can be freely read by the public and other researchers at large. So Plan S was a coalition of funders and countries who were interested in going down the gold open access route, where the author would be paying. And when we say that the author is paying, often the kind of money that goes into publishing in these top-notch journals is quite high. I'm sure many of you are aware of the kind of prices that I'm talking about. And there is an expectation that the government will partially sort of fund this payment, and it has become a very problematic cycle, because on one hand you have taxpayers which basically are funding the running of scientific research institutions, and then the government is again taking from the taxpayers to get that research published, and in the end only the taxpayers are able to sort of read that research. So this is the kind of double dipping that has become very, very problematic. But finally, the gold open access route that the Plan S was envisaging, India did not go ahead with that. After expressing its intentions to join the coalition, we dropped out. I think I'm not sure what the exact reasons were. I haven't seen any accounts, but my understanding is that a lot of studies had shown that the price of joining that coalition would have been exorbitant for us, and pretty much unaffordable. So after that, the more recent policy development has been that of looking into the one nation and one subscription model of trying to access research. This is something that made news about 2 months back, when we had again the principal scientific advisor suggesting that India could go down this route. So, what could a one nation, one subscription model mean? This is a model that has been adopted by Uruguay and Egypt. And what those countries have done is that they have paid an exorbitant amount of money to the top publishers in the field. And through that, they have created portals, basically platforms, knowledge platforms for the citizens as well as researchers to be able to access all the publications that are the property of these publishers essentially. Now, it is not entirely clear as how cost effective these sort of models have been in those countries. And there have been some concerns about, what is the kind of universe of knowledge that you can really buy. I mean, there is always something that could potentially be left out, and negotiating this kind of a deal, this kind of a license is also very, very tricky. So after the initial news about India's interest in adopting something like this, I haven't seen any further plans on implementing this kind of a model. And I think we will learn about the eventual approach in the upcoming science, technology, and innovation policy that I think is currently being drafted by the government of India. So, in terms of the policy landscape, this is where we stand. And finally, I think I would just like to sort of focus on how important it is to have some sort of a global cooperation to solve this issue, because as we're aware that this is not a problem that is being faced by India alone. It is a problem that is affecting developed economies as well, to a significant degree, and it is putting the strain on developing economies even more. It's interesting to see that at some point there existed cooperation between Latin America um, and India on this issue, but lately I'm not sure if there has been any progress there. So, after so many piecemeal reforms in terms of OA at Indian institutions, it would be definitely good to see if Indian scientific community in a discipline-wise manner, or if in a more unified manner, can take a more sort of a stronger approach to solving this issue. And I think that would also ensure that authors have more control over their works. Because the other issue that is often seen is that authors are unable to sort of access their own works, share their own works, and this fear of copyright infringement really runs far and deep. And I think open access has the potential to solve that to a great extent. But again, the politics of the movement, the momentum in a movement, is something that urgently needs to be looked into, and probably also needs to be made more participatory. So I think that's where I'll end, and I'm happy to take questions now about my presentation, or if there is anything else that you would like to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can we take up some questions?
Sure.
Uh, so, would like to know that the would OA and One Nation, One Subscription going to kind of influence each other, and how do you actually see it that one would.
Thank you. That's a great question. Because if you look at the underpinning of the one nation, one subscription model, it does not appear to be supporting a pure OA idea. It's in fact basically acceding to the ground reality that one has to pay an exorbitant amount of money to be able to access knowledge. And even with the one nation and one subscription idea, it is not entirely clear the kind of permissions that anyone accessing those articles might still need to take in terms of um, using that article or reusing that article or reusing the data in that article. So at the moment it is not clear as to whether that model will be in support of open access. I think if it comes to pass, the terms and conditions of the deal will ultimately make it clearer.
Actually, the next question is maybe in continuation to this or a previous part. Any specific reasons why India did not sign the Plan S?
So, like I said, I haven't come across any credible accounts. But when the idea for Planus was proposed, a lot of researchers had pointed out that the cost of getting into Planus would prove to be very, very exorbitant for India. And hence, at the time, at the moment the plan was announced, around that time itself, a lot of commentators had suggested that this is going to be a too expensive a model for India. And I would think that perhaps that's one of the reasons that we did not join.
Thank you. Okay, there is one more question from the participant. It says that do OA will it be useful to strengthen Indian scientific publication sector? And what are the bottleneck in gaining momentum to raise the level of Indian scientific publishing, I suppose. Was I
So,
audible?
yes, you were. Thank
Huh.
you. I think definitely, but I'm not sure if OA can necessarily propel the Indian scientific publication sector. I think um, firstly, a mandatory policy of open access, a green open access, that too, or a mandatory policy of publishing in certain journals. It has proven to be not very well received. I think um, in recent times, the Ministry of Human Resources and Development had tried to release a list of journals advising that that's where Indian researchers should publish. And that was done with the idea of probably getting Indian researchers to avoid publishing in predatory journals. Um, but again, that was also heavily criticized because, firstly, restricting that was seen as a restriction on academic freedom, and secondly, there were also issues with the methodology of preparing that list. So in a way, one of the issues that exists in terms of adoption of OA is the inclination of authors to publish in journals with high journal impact factors. And high journal impact factors, as you would know, more of those exist in the more traditional and reputable, global north journals. So how would you expect authors to just start publishing in Indian scientific publications? So I think it's the other institution that we also don't need to look into is the kind of peer review setup that we have. Can that be strengthened in in certain disciplines a little more? Can as an Indian scientific community, is there scope for improving knowledge exchange within ourselves? I think there are a lot of factors such as these that need to be looked into, and collectively, yes, then maybe all of these can contribute to definitely strengthening the scientific publication sector.
Thank you, ma'am.
There is one question which the participant is asking about copyright infringement. What are the penalties? I think it's quite a vast question.
So the penalties are both criminal and civil, and depending on the severity, you could end up paying that much in terms of money, or you could also sort of end up going to jail. And definitely, the criminal penalty around copyright infringement has been deemed to be quite excessive by many scholars. And it continues to be a matter of debate whether copyright infringement should be punished criminally.
Thanks. As an academic institute, do you suggest any kind of policies that academic institutes need to work on to promote open access?
Could you please repeat your question?
Academic.
Hello?
Yeah, I think there is a network issue. Madam is trying to ask what are some of the things that the academic institutions can do or have some policies to promote open access amongst researchers.
I think firstly is raising awareness, and secondly is incentivizing the adoption of open access as the appropriate publishing choice, depending on the kind of if it's offering instruction, for example, in a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, then maybe it's also helpful for the faculty in the institution to provide students with ideas as to where, which are the reputed open access journals that one could publish in, or which are the reputed repositories where one's work is discoverable. And it doesn't only have to be repositories. What are the ways of distributing one's work to make it more discoverable overall? So maybe that, I think if it's at the research level where you have postdocs and doctorates, you should definitely probably have a strong open access policy with proper compliance standards, which are again tailored to your specific discipline, the demands of your discipline, the specific circumstances of your discipline and institution. I think those could be the first steps.
Madam, with your experience with OA, what do you think has been some of the major barriers for acceptance of OA or implementation of OA?
So again, there is a lack of awareness. There is little or no enforcement of policies. If institutions do adopt a policy, who is going to check if the research paper is ultimately deposited in the institutional repository? And often publishers also require authors to enter into strict contracts of copyright transfer. So these often happen with some sort of an imposition of embargo period. So they will allow someone to deposit an article in an institutional repository, but let's say only after 3 months or 6 months after the publication in the publisher's journal. So all of these combined have a very strong sort of detrimental effect on the growth of OA. And to some level, there is also a lot of confusion around, what is a sort of copyright that an author has over their article, whether posting of preprint is a legal, act to do, what is the status of postprints. So let me make that clear. Posting preprints is perfectly legal, and also posting postprints should not be very it's not a problem, especially if authors decide to license their article by virtue of being the copyright owner, as opposed to transferring their article in entirety. So even if you are entering into that sort of an agreement, try to negotiate with the publisher and try to license your article to the publisher. And even if there is a proper copyright transfer that is happening, the law cannot stop you from privately sharing the postprint with another colleague, or sharing that with a group for the purposes of teaching and education. So it is important to also have proper knowledge of what the law says, so that you're not unduly scared about the consequences.
I'm sorry, actually, I lost the connectivity in between. Apologies for that. Are there any more questions, Meghna?
Yeah, there is one question. Is copyright law taken seriously in India?
So that's a very I mean, it's a big question, and I'm not sure what you mean by seriously. But when it comes to enforcing copyright, definitely India as a country lags behind most developed countries. Enforcing copyright means that basically, you have a lot of institutions tasked with checking whether there is proper compliance of copyright happening in the country. Some of these actors include, the police and so on and so forth. And there are some agencies that can also get involved. So yes, I mean, enforcement of copyright is lax in India compared to developed countries.
So I think we have taken up all the questions from the chat box.
Okay. So we thank you, madam, for such an interactive session. It really cleared all our doubts of OA to a great extent. It was very, very interesting to know how the sharing of knowledge, philosophy, evolved over the period, and that helped put all the pieces in place actually, like understanding the copyright, how it actually started, how it moved from hoarding of information to disseminating the information, then what are cultural commons, and from gatekeeping to open gates for sharing of information, I think which formed the base of open access. And the question answers round also cleared a lot of our doubts and lot of questions which we had in our mind and our researcher participants had in mind about open access and in publishing in open access. So it was really, really very interactive and very informative session. and thank you once again for it.
Thank you, Meghna. Thank you, Madhavi. Thank you so much for to the participants for participating in the polls and for all your excellent questions. It was lovely talking to everyone about this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
In the previous session, we have seen the concept and the philosophy of open access, and we have seen the potential of open access. In the following session now, we will be actually looking at ways how, as researchers, we can adopt open access. So it is not only about accessing scientific literature, but it is also about making our literature open access to researchers through various forms. So green, gold, there are some typical forms of open access that which have already been explained. But what are some of the other ways and some of the more important ways by which we can discover as well as we can make our literature open? So for this, we again have a very young researcher with us, Dr. Sarika Sawant. She has herself made all her research very accessible in the open access, and one of her important topics of research is the open access area. So before I welcome Dr. Sarika and hand over this session to her, I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Sarika Sawant. She is working as an assistant professor at the SHPT School of Library Science, SNDT Women's University since September 2004. She holds 2 master's degree, one being MSc in biochemistry and other is the master's in library and information science, and a PhD from SNDT Women's University in May 2010. She has 39 international and national publications to her credit. She has completed 3 research projects. She has received 245 citations for her publications and has authored 1 collaborative book project for the BRIC countries. She has edited 3 conference proceedings. She has 41 conference papers to her credit and has deposited 40 preprints of conference and journal papers in ELIS repository. She has archived 45 presentations in SlideShare, which have more than 160,000 views. See, from this by itself, we can make out that she is an open access advocate and a very right person for this session. She is also a recipient of various awards and honors from prestigious institutions, such as attendance grant on behalf of the Asia Pacific section to participate in the International Federation of Library Association Conference, IFLA, the topmost library science conference, which was held at Columbus, Ohio, USA during August 13 to 19th in 2016. She has even participated and presented a research paper and a poster in the IFLA 2018 Malaysia conference. She has also received UGC grant, travel grant for Austria to attend a conference. She is associated with 8 universities in India in different capacities for lectures, for assessment of PhD thesis, and so on. She's on the editorial board of Sage Open, an international peer-reviewed journal, and a guest peer reviewer of the Journal of Academic Librarianship. The Journal of Academic Librarianship is a very prestigious journal in the field of LIS. It is published by Elsevier. She has delivered more than 71 expert talks on various topics such as research, copyright, open access, publication misconduct, ICT tools, and so on. So on behalf of the ICT and VES College of Arts, Science and Commerce, we welcome you, Dr. Sarika, for this session, and over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for such a warm welcome and good wishes from the VES and ICT. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to thank VES and ICT for inviting me to deliver a talk on adopting open access, which was a topic of my PhD, which I had chosen in 2005 and which I completed in 2010. At that time, the topic was a very sizzling topic, a new topic. The concept was not actually came into the existence the way it was right now. Okay, so I'm really thankful to both institutions for inviting me here to talk and share my experiences about open access journey. Okay, so let me begin with my PowerPoint presentation sharing.
It's visible now.
I think it is visible to everyone. Okay. So in my this 1 hour talk, I would like to throw lights on different ways of publishing via open access, adoption of open access, Sherpa Romeo website, or regarding the author's rights and publishing platforms. Then I would like to talk about Think, Check, Submit. That is what researchers need right now for submitting their articles in the journals, as well as Think, Check, and Attend, means which right conference that you need to attend. Okay. Then I would like to talk about Creative Commons licenses, various licenses. And then again, a very important issue, that is author's addendum, that is about copyrights of authors. And then also I would like to talk something about choosing the right journal for researchers. Okay, so as Madam Anuva had discussed very well, how the concept or the philosophy of open access started, it existed. Even she gave the example of Plato and all, Socrates and all. Okay, and again she mentioned about how budget was dwindling budget, or you can say the budget crisis took place in the libraries context, and then open access movement, how it gained momentum. Okay, so it is not a, it is a very recent phenomena. Open access is a very recent phenomena, I think maybe 20 years for us. But in case of physics and computer science, this archiving of their articles or lab notes was much earlier. It was adopted by the physicists, okay, or as well as mathematicians and the computer scientists. And the same time, the computer scientists were talking about open source movement, like a source code of the programs has to be available free of cost on internet, so that anyone can download that software and modify that software according to their needs, and they can use. Okay, so on the parallel lines, this movement was started. Okay, and then in this open access movement, there were actually three types of modes of open access, means how a researcher can provide access to his or her material in various ways. Okay, or that researchers can participate in open access movement, how that researcher can contribute to this movement. Okay, so in this case, what a researcher can do, can opt for a golden route, the second is a green route, and third one is a diamond route. Okay, in case of golden route, there are again two types of journals. Golden route means what? Okay, say for example, if I want to write any article and want to publish my article in journal, then I must choose a golden route, that is open access journals, so that my article is freely and openly accessible to everyone over the internet, so that anyone can read, they can cite, and they can use that particular article. Okay, so that is what the golden route is, means it is a open access journal model. And then again, there are two types in the golden route, that is a full open access journal, and second is a hybrid journal. Full open access journal, that means PLOS is a very good example of full open access journal, where article processing charges are taken from the researchers to submit in their journal. Okay, and it must be very shocking for the third world country like us that they charges $2,500 per article. Okay, so it's a very big amount for Indians to pay to publish in the PLOS journals. There are almost 7 journals, and their average cost, average article processing charge is about 2,500. And for your kind information, I would like to mention that why these article processing charges are given, because it's free to read, but it's not free to produce. You know, you need to maintain the archive of the journal in a long term, and there are other activities that are associated with this particular running of the journal. Okay, for that purpose, these journals are acquiring the article processing fees from the authors. Okay, but to your surprise, almost 70% of the journals, gold root open access journals, they do not charge the amount. Okay, so you can imagine that 30% remaining are taking APC charges. Okay, because there are other ways of waiving off the APC charges that I will talk later on. And then there is something called a hybrid journal, like I can give you example of all these commercial publishers. You know, when they saw this open access movement and the gold open access, they feel that now this model has to be adopted by them, and they started offering their articles on an open access mode. Means they used to ask article processing charges from the authors, so that there only one particular article will be available or accessible throughout in open access mode. Okay, so this is an example of from the commercial publishers. Then second one is a green route, which is very interesting and which is of our interest, or maybe third world countries' interest, since there are no money involved in this particular route. That is what I can deposit the articles which I have written for the journal. Okay, those articles, suppose I have written one article which is accepted in the high price subscription journal, and I wish to deposit preprint of this particular article in any of the repository. I'm free to deposit. Okay, so I have almost, as Meghna read my profile that time, she mentioned that how many articles that I have deposited. So again, in this particular line, you can deposit preprints of articles in your repository. You know, and for your kind information, when article is when we submit an article to the journal, that is called as preprint, or you can say manuscript. And after going through the series of actions like peer review and editing and the changes and all, when the final version is accepted, that accepted version is called print version or a final version. And then after that, suppose I am interested in updating my data. Suppose I have some data, say for example up to 2020, but but if there are any significant development took place, and if I wish to add or update my data after 2020, still I can add, and that particular version is called as post-print articles. Okay, so preprint, even in some journals, print copy as well as post prints are deposited in a repositories or author's homepage or institutional repository. So in this way, the green route is also very much advisable for the researchers. And the third way is the diamond route. In the diamond route, there are no article processing charges. Anyone can write an article for this particular journal, and if it is approved or if it is of a good quality, peer reviewed and all, it will get accepted and it will get published immediately, and it will be available online. Okay, and these particular type of journal, they are mostly supported by the government fundings or the institutions or philanthropic associations, or you can say universities or the academic institutions, where it is their own initiative, so that as part of their institutions funding, they acquired money for running the particular journal. Okay, so these are the basic 3 different types of journals, open access ways. These are some examples that I'm showing. This is the PLOS one. As I mentioned, that PLOS has got 7 journals. So one of it is a PLOS one. Then one more, Mizoram University Journal. Again, it is our Indian University is one of the journal. Is again open access journal. Here it is already mentioned that it is a biannual open access referee journal. Okay. Then I spoke about a green route, that is depositing the preprint, print or postprint of the article in a various repositories. Here is the example of Indian Institute of Science, where they have their own repository, and in that particular repository they have received number of preprints or postprints of the article. You can see here the number, and the majority of the journal articles they have in their repository, that is around 41,000 journal articles that they have deposited here in their repository. So these are some examples. Again, in case of National Metallurgical Laboratory, this is the institutional repository of that particular institution. And here you can see right from 1946, they have the copies of their articles or the reports in their repository. That means the earlier reports of the particular institution's scientists or researchers, that particular documents have been scanned and kept in their repository. Okay, so this can be done by the researcher itself, or on behalf of the researcher, library can do it. Then the question is, what is your role, okay, as a researcher? What you are going to do? I'm just imagining that you are a researcher, you are going to start your maybe PhD journey, or as a teacher, you're starting your career. So what you are going to contribute in this open access movement? Okay, so as a researcher, what you can do, you can use the open access search engines in the beginning, right? As all of us know only about Google, that we in a joke also we say, oh, Google it. Okay, so it's not like only the Google is the only god of internet, but there are, apart from this, open access search engines which must get notified by the researchers, and it's a right time that you must know that there are search engines which searches various such type of like green, gold and diamond type of publications, and that will bring out to you something very solid or something very academic output for you. Okay, not a junk that other search engines gives you. So in case of open access search engine base, it is the largest open access search engine. It searches around 3,100 scholarly archives. I said now there are institutional repositories and archives set up by the institution, universities and the academic institutions all over the world. Okay, and this base means what? This base does what? It harvests the metadata from all 3,100 universities archives, so that at one place you can search all these 3,100 university database. Okay, I'm talking about here the green gold route. Okay, I'm not talking about subscription of these 3,100 institutions. Okay, so again there is one more that is called as Paper-ID, a special open access search engine where all articles can be read on the site of the search engine itself and are full text searchable. Okay, so here also you can find a lot of data regarding the open access publications. Very famous is about DOAJ, that is Directory of Open Access Journals. Even Directory of Open Access Books. This is also a very good initiative by DOAV Foundation, where you can find more than 30,000 books archived in their repository. There is something called OASTER, that is OAISTER. Again, it harvests, or it contains the data from 1,100 universities, scholarly archives, and especially it is especially containing the preprints documents, ED, that is open access to thesis and PhD dissertations, okay, from more than 800 universities and colleges, as well as research institutes worldwide. Like how in India we have a Shodh Ganga, like that OATD has archived or fetched the data from all those 800 universities, and they give you or return you the results based on these 800 universities. Apart from these global initiatives, our Indian initiatives, very own Indian initiatives, that is Shodhaganga, is very important. And in Shodhaganga, there are plenty of art, journals, plenty of theses are available from all over India, all over Indian universities. As a researcher, what is your role? What you can do? As I told you that there are various ways of open access. You can adopt those ways. For that, what you can do, first that you have to do some research, okay? Then you can write a research publication based on your research. Or you can also write a general article, not necessarily it has to be research article. So general article or review of literature article, that type of articles you can write. For that, you need to identify which are the good open access journals for you, or in your research, reputable open access journals. Then you have to submit a paper for the peer review. You have to submit the paper for their peer review process, whatever single blind, double blind review process they have. And then if the article is getting accepted by that particular gold route open access journal, then you have to pay the article processing charge, okay? Or you can ask for the waiver also. Okay, as I told you that 70% only journals they ask you APC, otherwise 70% they waive, 30% they ask for the APC. There are various funding opportunities, funders policy, or you can say funding assistant policy for those who wish to publish their article in the gold OA. Okay, suppose your article is accepted and you are not able to pay such a huge processing fees, then there are options given by OA publisher itself. Like for example, PLOS. If you go and see the PLOS website, they have given 3 different type of options for waiving or for assistance purpose. First one is that they have that institutional membership. Suppose if your institution is a member of PLOS, then maybe the charges will be waived or very less amount will be incurred from you. As well as they have something like they have some tie-up, or they divert you to the philanthropical organizations or societies which will pay on behalf of you, something like that. Okay, so there is a possibility that if your article is accepted in such a journals, you should not give up. Okay, you should look for the opportunities from where you can get the money, or if it is a genuine particular case, then definitely it will get waived. So this is not in case of gold OA. It is also in case of subscription journals. Okay, suppose you have written article to the high-priced commercial journal, and if you want to go via OA route, and you are not able to pay even the OA APC fees, then they may waive your charges if the quality of the article is good. Okay, this is also the possibility. So in this way, you can submit your articles to the gold open access journals. And then the second step you can do is that you can archive your printed version or the preprint of your journal article in your institution's repository or your own home page. Okay, or you can just deposit in the social media academic social network also. As well as there is one more possibility is that if there is any archive, subject archive in your area, subject area, then you can deposit preprint, print or post print of your article in the particular subject repository also. Okay, so I think that you should not give up. It's a very organized process. You know, we put a lot of efforts in writing the article and publishing it, right? So our journey should not end with the just publishing the article and getting the credits. That's it. No, that should not be the end. But after that, you should popularize your article by various means. Okay, one of mean is this green route, adopting the green route, where you can deposit the article wherever you want. Again, you have to cross check the publisher's policy. If it is a gold open access, then I don't think so there will be any problem or hurdle in depositing the article. But in case of high price commercial publications, then definitely you have to check the copyright policies. Again, that I will cover in my next slides. Okay. As I told you that even though you deposit your article on your own website or on your own home page, or even in your institutional repository, it will be picked up by the search engine, so that people will able to get the article which you have written. Okay, so that you can get the more citations. I can show you that also, that how I have written article in the subscription journals as well as in open access journals, and how I'm receiving more citations to the open access journal article than the subscription journal. Means it's going up and up and up, because the citations are going up because it's openly accessible, available worldwide. Okay, and again it is discovered by the search engine. So this is the one advantage of having your article deposited in the green root way. Then green versus gold. Obviously, green is free of cost. You don't need to pay money to deposit your article in your own institutional repository, or on your own website, or in the subject repository. But in case of gold OA, maybe article processing charges you have to pay. In case of green OA, may not be available immediately due to publisher's embargo. This is very important. See, there was an era that all rights reserved, but now in an era of some rights reserved. Okay, we were not actually aware about the copyright policies earlier, and it was not like a talk of the town. We never used to discuss, but now because of this Creative Commons and all, we are aware about now copyright policies. Even Sherpa Romeo is the one who has given us a guideline to find out the copyright policies of the publishers, so that you can decide which journal to choose to publish your article. Okay, so again, there is some restrictions sometimes in case of medical journals, that they may not allow you to deposit your preprints or a postprint or a print version immediately. Okay, they may keep some embargo period like 6 months or 1 year, and after that you are eligible to deposit your article. Then in case of again green OA is a complex issue. You know, you have to be very aware about which journalities, what are their policies and all. You know, that is why it says that it is very complex. But in case of gold OA, it's very clear. It's author is the only sole copyright owner, so that there are no problems. Author can decide to do anything with that particular article. Then there are these major directories which are of interest to the researchers, which every researcher, I think right now at present situation, must know these resources. Okay, these are the big directories, that is DOAJ, Open DOAR, then DOAB, and then OAD. Okay, so in this case, I have a screenshot I can share with you, like this DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journal. It only covers open access journal, that is peer-reviewed open access journals. Okay, nothing is like hybrid. I mentioned that some commercial publishers, they also opt for the OA route and all, so they are totally excluded from the DOAJ. Okay, so there are almost 15,259 journals that are registered with the DOAJ, and you can also suggest any journal if you find that it is open access but it is not there in the DOAJ. There is a separate form which you can fill up and you can suggest them to include in the DOAJ. But they have a thorough policy or a procedure that they check very well, and then they include in the DOAJ. Okay, so out of these 15,000 journals, there are 12,000 more than 12,000 journal articles that are searchable at the article level. Yani, full text articles are also available through this DOAJ, so that people can actually read full text article here only DOAJ. Okay, because full text journals are available. So I am just here is one just example where in social sciences you can find almost 1,46,000 records related to the social sciences. Okay, and again in social sciences they have a subjects like social sciences general, sociology, history of scholarship and learning, sciences, then business, science general, commerce, Latin America, Spanish America, then technology. So they also have this particular thesaurus kind of or subject subjects and their groups. They accordingly they have organized their database. Okay, so in case of journals, they have almost 630 journals of social sciences subject. Okay, and more than 1,50,000 articles are there regarding this 630 journals. So here you can see the articles. Again, in case of DOAB, this was, I think, maybe started in 2012 or 13, something like that. And hardly they had 100 books. But now you can see almost 31,000 peer-reviewed, open, accessible books are available with this directory of open access books. Okay, and they are from 404 publishers. You know, and they are also good publishers. It's not like anyone can become a publisher and part of this DOAB. Okay, because again, DOAB organization is also very well scrutinizes the books and the publishers. Okay, and then they include in this particular directory. And again, this particular DOAB is supported by this open edition CNRS and this university called Marksily. Okay, so this again, what I'm telling you is that these all initiatives, all these type of works, these repositories and all, they are all funded or supported by these either government institutions or the philanthropic institutions, so that they want to flourish the open science. Okay, they want that access to the information should be there to each and everyone. Means right information, right time, at the right reader, and all the time. So it has to be that on the basis of this. Okay, so all these people, they are all mostly from the universities, university initiatives and all, who are trying to promote this open access movement, so that there should not be hurdle in future. Like Harvard University, they boycott the major commercial publishers in medical sciences or engineering, because they cannot afford to have subscription to those particular journals. So imagine if the Harvard University or Cambridge University cannot afford, then how we will able to afford. So this is the movement that has been taken place or happening right from this 20 years. And I am very sure that within this 20 years, we have achieved a good amount of open access publishing or what I can say material, so that it will help in the future. Okay, and it may lower the burden on the librarians especially, and they definitely institutions. So here in case of subjects, you can find out how many books are there in case of languages and literature. Around 2,624 books are about languages and literature and linguistic. Around 932 books are available. Then Open Door, that is again directory of open access resources, or you can say repositories. So here you can see all the repositories which are there country-wise. Okay, here in this slide you can see. Like in India, we have 96 institutional repositories. That what does it mean? So the 96 institutions in India have developed the repository, and they have flourished their repository with their own institutional publications. Okay, it may be the posters, conference reports, or the articles written by their own researchers, or even the convocation address or photographs or something like that. Okay, so almost 96 institutions in India. The quite number is low, but still it is increasing slowly and steadily. In case of United States of America, it's the highest one, that is 903. So you can imagine that 903 colleges, institutions, or universities have adopted, or they have their own institutional repositories where they are depositing the articles of their own academic researchers as well as teachers. So in case of India, you can see your list of institutional repositories like NIO, MTech, okay, IUCA, Indian Institute of Geomagnetism. Preprint servers and archives. Like I told you that there is a lot of value of preprints in case of engineering or medical sciences or mathematical or physical sciences. You know, their lab notes are very important for them. So I discussed that ArcGeo, that in case of physics, they already had established their own preprint repository, which was long existed before this 20 years open access movement. So such type of disciplinary archives are available. In case of physics, I mentioned that ArcGeo. Then social sciences, there is SSRN. Then in case of biology, there is BioArcGeo. Then chemical sciences, then medical sciences, psychology, sociology, engineering, and agriculture sciences. So these are the disciplinary archives. They are basically the preprints of the articles or a lab notes or something like that, which may be the important document for any researchers from any other part of the country. Okay, so they may they can access the articles from these disciplinary archives. In case of countrywide archives, again, India is having Indonesia, Arabic, France, China. They have their own preprint servers, which are flourishing slowly and steadily. Again, there is something very interesting I would like to note here is the preprint search engine. Okay, like I said just now, I mentioned you there are so many disciplinary archives, okay, preprint repositories, but there can be search engines for the preprint, like they can be like a meta search engine, okay, something like that, so that they can search from each and every individual preprint server. So this preprint archive search that searches 2 million preprints from ArcGeo, Bio, OSF, and PRJ and preprints.org. Oh, so I mentioned just now that they are like a meta search engine. Okay, so there is one more, that is Search Bio Preprint, that is from the University of Pittsburgh, which again searches from the various preprint servers as well as F1000 research, preprints.org, even a welcome open research. Okay, so at a one goal you will able to get a lot of articles which is related to your maybe area of interest. Okay, basically social sciences or medical or engineering sciences. So here are the example, like I just mentioned that they are like a meta search engine. They harvest the metadata from all these search preprint servers. Okay, like it is mentioned at the bottom. So you can use this particular preprint servers or you can say meta search engines to search the preprints of the articles of your interest. This is again F1000 research. In case of F1000 research, I was trying to find out something like posters. You know, I was just getting these posters. So you can imagine they are also categorized the documents that they have. It is not just they call it as a preprints, but there is again articles, faculty reviews, documents, posters, and slides. In case of publishers and distributors, they also have, this is also a list which is there in front of you, which you can use or you can use to search the articles for your research. Okay, so in case of Biomed Central, they have 212 almost journals, then PLOS, then PubMed Central, then CLO, Wiley, OAR journals, then Highway Press, PRJ, and then Sage Open. Sage Open is a single journal. Okay, so you can go and visit these websites and find out more about your own research. Okay, apart from the articles or maybe plus posters or a slide, you also need images when you write something in your article or in your research, or, to support your documents or something like that. And we try to search it in the Google, but on the Google, all are copyrighted images. We cannot take it. We can take it under a fair use, but we have to give the attribution, right? So there is one parallel to this. There is one option available, that Creative Commons images. Almost 500 million images are available with the Creative Commons images, and which is searchable. That is very important, because to search an image is quite a huge task. So you can search Creative Commons like images for your own PPT, developing a PPT or an article or something like that. There is one more option that is called a Smithsonian Open Access. Almost there are 16 million material, objects, archives, or images, audio, even videos are also available on this Smithsonian Open Access. So they have a varied category of documents so that you can search accordingly. You will not get the junk as such, but you'll get the this thing. So here I was in Creative Commons license. I was trying to search something on academic publishing. I wanted that academic publishing model, in a form of image or a poster kind of. So I got these models or these images in this Creative Commons. So I'm just giving you the examples how it will look like in this Smithsonian Open Access. Here also you can search. Like I was trying to search DNA model, but I was not getting actually a 3D model kind of image, but I got something like this. Okay, they have labeled it as a DNA, but I'm not very sure. There is something very important I would like to mention, is that syllabus. For a teachers, it's very important to have a good syllabus. And in a teacher's life, it is important to have a good syllabus of other universities or the other institutions in your country as well as in the other country. There is one project called Open Syllabus Project, which collects and analyzes millions of syllabi to support educational research and novel teaching and learning applications. And it's completely free. You can just see the syllabus of the engineering college, maybe the of Petersburg University, right sitting here in your home. Okay, so it contains the English language syllabi from almost 80 countries. Okay, so sometimes definitely researchers also need syllabus to know, at least teachers community, even the students are interested to know what is the syllabus of that particular institutions. They can go and check this. So this is again under the Open Syllabus Project. So regarding this, in continuation with this, I would like to mention something about open science. The genome project was also open science. Means what is the philosophy of this open science? That means the whatever is research going on in the one particular case. Okay, for example, malaria. The research on the malaria is also available in a open science, under open science. Means whatever is research related to the malaria has to be under the openly accessible for all researchers, so that their cure has to be there. Okay. So Linux, Mozilla, even MATLAB, even electronics or C, something like that. So that is also open science project. Okay, and again it is a global initiative, and it is funded by the philanthropic institutions, even universities or government funded projects, so that the research should be spread to all over places, or the material or the research which is going on should be tapped by the other researchers, so that there can be a cure. Like in case of COVID, you can see here in front of you that the genetic sequence of COVID-19 is being posted in GeneBank. Okay, it is again an open access database, and this in turn led to more articles, data, and code being shared openly without delay. See, we all are in a hurry of having the vaccine, correct? When the vaccine we will get, when the vaccine will come in the market, and when vaccine will be there in the market, when the research will get completed, and when the research will be completed, when actual researchers will get the data which is required for their this particular research journey, right? So if they get all the material which is related to their research immediately, then there is a possibility that we get the vaccine immediately, maybe in the near future in 2021. Okay, so all these, all whatever we are trying to understand that what is this open access movement, how it is going to help us and all. So here, this COVID-19, you can get the direct example of this open access, right? Open access publication and its impact on the researchers, and because of that, the impact on the people, okay, all over the world. So again, a personal genome project, that was a coalition of projects across the world and dedicated to creating a public genome health and trade data. You know, there are different type of, I said that open science projects are going on. So this personal genome project, like people are interested in and sharing their own DNA and the information related to that, so that they will able to understand the traits or something like that, you know. So again, this type of open science, or the information which is available in open accessible manner, is going to help people only, or a society, I can say, in a long term. So we as a researchers should support the open access so that our future is secured. There is something very interesting, that is open access button, which searches all the resources which are available, which are there here in front of you. Okay, unpaywall data, share, core, open air, then disem, Europe, and pace. So it's again like a big, like a meta search engine, which will search everything which is available. So now, very interesting part we'll try to see here is that, okay, I did one research using all open access publications. I used it. I did my research. I wrote article in open access journals, correct? And now I am depositing my preprints or the postprints of the article in the on my own homepage or a subject repository, right? But before doing this, I must know about the publisher's policies or a copyright policies. You know, which we always feel that we read so many things, but we don't read an important document. That's a copyright law. That a copyright letter of that particular journal. We just tick mark, I agree. Okay, we are in such a hurry that we will just say I agree and we just move on, right? But here in this case, Sherpa Romeo is a database of journals and publishers' self-archiving policies. You know, this Sherpa Romeo is going to help us that which journal is allowing you to deposit article in your homepage. Okay, if in case of subscription journals, if it is a OA journal, there is no restriction. You can deposit anywhere you want because you are the copyright owner. Okay, but in case of, if you are writing article to the high subscription journals, because this is a fact that even though there are open access gold routes and very different type of open access journal, still these commercial publishers are there in the market, and they are going to be there in the market. Okay, and they will be we will be depositing or writing articles to them. It may be it may take a little time to divert ourselves or from these high impact or good quality journals to OA journals, but still they are going to be there in the market. Okay, but if we are writing to those journals, then we need to find out what are the policies of these publishers, you know. So this particular Sherpa Romeo has got listed 4,528 publishers. What are their policies? Even there is something called transpose. They have almost about 3,000 journals they have listed, and they have mentioned about their OA policies. Let's see how Sherpa Romeo looks like. Their website looks like this. I just typed journal title. Here there are two boxes. One box is with the journal title or ISSN number. Second is a publisher's name. You can just directly write Science Direct, Elsevier, or Starer and Francis, something like that. When I wrote Library High Tech that time, I got this publisher's policy. Okay. They support OA also. They take the article from the author, and they take the article processing charges and they make it their article OA mode. Okay. No embargo period. The CC BY Creative Commons license can be accepted. Okay. So when we see in the details same Library High Tech, here you can see. Academic social networks, author homepage, institutional repository, non-commercial subject repository. You can deposit the accepted version name, okay? But the preprint, you can deposit. And what are the conditions that they have given? Academic social networks, scholarly, collaboration networks that have signed up to the voluntary STM sharing principles. Deposit may occur upon publication, must link to the publisher's versions with DOI, published source must be acknowledged. If you are depositing your article anywhere, you have to give the link to the publisher's DOI link, okay? And you have to acknowledge that your article has been published there and you should thank to them. Okay, so like this publisher's policy that you have to read, so where you can actually deposit or not, and how you can deposit, which version you can deposit, that will be cleared here in the Sherpa Romeo. And see, it's not only the Sherpa Romeo, you can go to that particular journal's website and you can find out also. Okay, there you can also read what are their policies. It will be the same like here. But here they have given the comprehensive look of their policy. So you can see that Sherpa started in January 2004 and they had registered with them only 73 publishers. But now there are more than 4,500 publishers registered with them. And you can see here which number of publishers which are more registered with them is USA, that is 1,070. And here in India, 151 publishers' policy is displayed in the Sherpa Romeo. They have given a wonderful video tutorial on their website. You can go through, you can understand. They have explained it very well. So please, kind request to all participants to go through this video tutorial and try to understand what are your rights. I was trying to find out the Annals of Agricultural Sciences. I typed this article, this title, and I was trying to find out what information is given. Okay, so it's a single blind journal. And here they have mentioned in case of preprint, see, read carefully, that version of paper allowed in preprint server. Okay, typically for submission only. So the manuscript that we submit to the journal, that is allowed. But archive and repec preprints can be updated with author's accepted manuscript. Okay, so it is such an important aspect is mentioned here. That means anywhere else you can deposit your manuscript, but in these two particular preprint servers, that archive and repec, you can deposit the accepted manuscripts. Okay, maybe the polished one after editing and all. So that can be deposited in these two particular preprint servers. Okay, but they have not given other information. That means it is not allowed anywhere. Okay. I would like to just mention here about questionable or predatory publishers. You know why? Because I just mentioned that Gold OA is very good. That means the journals which are open access mode available take the author processing charges. They are good. They keep your articles for on their website so that it will be accessible for everyone. And it impact factor will get increased, citations of your article will get increased. Okay, So that is why they were the people who understood that this is an opportunity for them for money making. Okay, so money making business was started maybe almost after this open access movement, and gold open access journals were started. That time this particular predatory publishers, they started publishing the gold. They called it as a gold OA model of their journal, but actually it is not. Okay, so they are the predatory publishers. So the Jeffrey Webb Bill, who did the research in this particular predatory publishers area, and he find out there are so many journals, and especially from the India, they are the fake journals. Okay, so you should be aware of this, and you should try to identify what is good, what is bad for you. So how you will identify? They will ask you the submission fee. See, in case of gold OA, when your peer reviews happen, when it is accepted, then they will ask you of APC, not at the beginning. This will not happen with a proper, good quality open access journals. Then the editorial board, if you find such type of journals, then their website will not be good. There will be no proper information. Even no editorial board will be established, and coming soon board will be there. Their website will be of no good quality, right? There will be a lot of titles, grammatical errors, mistakes in the titles as well as in the abstract. Then there will be information mismatch. Okay, like editorial board, they may write something, some name, but when actually author guidelines, they will write some different names. Okay, they may write somewhere scope of the journal, where they will define 4 or 5 fields, but somewhere place they will write something different. Okay, so information mismatch will be there. And single publisher with a large suite of journal, like one only journal will bring out the 10 different journals. So that is also very fishy. Then these type of journals, they fail to meet established standards with respect to peer review. Peer review is a very important, crucial aspect of every journal, not only gold, but every journal. And on their peer review board or the editorial board, there are very good, well-known people are there on the board, and they follow very good procedure. Their protocol is very strict. But mostly it's blind review. The reviewer don't know who has written the article. Author don't know who is the reviewer. Okay, and again, according to the standard, they have the editorial board. If it is international, then international editorial board has to be there. Not only all Indians and only international. So the standards that has to be maintained. And they falsely write, false claim that they are indexed in the DOAJ, Scopus, and Web Science and all. Okay, this can be fake. Okay, you just can cross-check with the Scopus and DOAJ. Then they write their article, journal title in such a way that we have a misunderstanding with the best journal in our field. For example, suppose if in our library science field, we have a best journal, that is Annals of Library and Information Science, and they may write the Annals of Library and Information Science, the THE will be added along with that title. So it's a fake journal. It's called a clone journal. Okay, it looks like author feel so that the great journal of library science, but it's not like that. So again, there is a problem with this. Again, multidisciplinary journal, like here is the example, International Journal on Recent Trends in Life Sciences and Mathematics. Imagine, where is the life sciences and where is the mathematics? Okay, so there is no major in this particular subject area. So multidisciplinary is okay. Maybe social sciences, there are so many subjects in the social science, it's fine. But it's not. It should not be the subjects like which is on one pole and another is on another pole. Okay, so this also a problematic area, you can say then. And they ask people, they write mail, they get email IDs from all these publishers, their databases, and because authors' names and emails are listed in the journals. They collect the email IDs and they keep writing people, you submit articles, and submit article. Okay, so which is not a standard practice in case of the reputed publisher. Sometimes they ask you for a special edition or a special issue or something like that if one person is very well known in that particular area. Otherwise, this is not a standard practice. Okay, but if you are in a doubt of authenticity of a journal or a conference, please feel free to talk to your librarian, because librarian is the one who is, I always say, that teacher of teachers. Okay, so librarian must be knowing which is a good journal, which is a bad journal. So definitely librarian will be able to help you with your situation. Then science journal or a publisher might be predatory, that the journal is not included in DOAJ. So again, a sign. Second, there is one big directory that is called Ulrich Periodicals, International Periodicals Directory, which has got more than 900 subject areas. So all the journals which are published all over the world in those 900 subject areas are listed in this directory. So if the journal's name is not here in the list, means that is not a good journal. Okay, and if the publisher is not a member of Open Access Scholarly Publishers Association, again that journal is a fake, or journal has to be member of COPE, Committee on Ethics. Okay, publication ethics. Also, you can check with this billslist.weebly.com as well as predatoryjournals.com. There is very interesting website that Think, Check and Submit. It helps researchers to identify which are the trusted journals and publishers, and for them they should write or not. They have given this entire path where they have mentioned that you just think. What you have to think is that more research is being published worldwide. New journals are launched each week. Yes, that is very true. There is a research going on. I just read one article where it has been mentioned that even though Jeffrey Will wrote out predatory publishers list and all things happened, still the number of predatory journals is not lowering. So that is a very bad sign, but it's very important and it's true. Okay, then stories of a publisher malpractice and deception are also in the rise, right? People take the charges and they publish, and sometimes they do not publish, or they ask more money, something like that. So there are so many stories with this. So it can be challenging to find out up-to-date guidance when choosing where to publish. Okay, then how can you be sure the journal are considering is the right journal for you for research? So all these points you have to consider and you have to check. So what you have to check? They have given the criteria that do you or your colleagues know this journal, right? You can easily identify the contact of the publishers, because it's in case of the fake journals, they will never have a proper email ID or an address, at least office address or something like that. Okay, so in case of email ID, they may have just Gmail ID or Yahoo ID or something. They may not have a proper domain specific email ID also. Their telephone number, email IDs will not in the place. Then the peer review policy will also not be there in the place. Also, what fees they are going to charge, when they are going to charge, how it will be transferred, online transfer and all details. It will also not be very clear. And if you have a glance at an editorial board, you may find, array, they are all different names. You don't know any of it. Suppose if you are writing article in your own journal area, you must be knowing the topmost people in your own area of research, right? So at least you should be able to judge or guess that who are these people, and then you can cross-check their affiliation. I also read in an article that one person's name is there with the minimum 20 editorial board, and that person don't know that he is on the editorial board of those journals. Okay, so this is also happened. So you have to cross-check whether that is a good journal, OA journal, proper OA journal or not, or it's just a fishy one. Okay, so if you feel that if you are comfortable, if you get the right answers to your questions, then you should think about submission your article in this particular journals, and then you can submit. Okay, so it enhances your reputation and your chance of gaining citations if it is a good journal, and you can definitely progress in your career, and it will definitely get indexed or archived easily in, and it will be discoverable if it is a good journal, because they are all indexed journals. And journey of writing article in a good journal, whether it is a subscription journal or an open access gold OA journal, it's a beautiful journey, you know, that teaches you a lot. Every paper you write, you have a different perspective of writing, and you just gain a lot of experience with that particular peer review, because peer review give you so many nice clues. Sometimes you feel that it's too much, but it's not too much. It's like eye-opening for you, that people think in a different angle, and then they give you ideas that you write, interpret your research in this way also, and that you may not be aware, or you may not have thought it. Okay, so it's a very good professional experience of publishing in a good journal, and that you must have, and you must do it. Again, along with this, there is something called think, check, and attend. Please go through also this website and find out which is a good conference to attend. Again, there are fake conferences. You can again see their guidelines, what they have given. As I mentioned, that Creative Commons license that can be opted by you while depositing your article in a green way. Okay, green mode. Suppose if I want to deposit my article in my own homepage, I can have the Creative Commons license along with this. Like for this particular PPT, I have a Creative Commons 4.0 share like license. That means what? The person who is using, who will use my PPT for his or her research will have to give the same license which I have given. Okay, so earlier the concept was all rights reserved, then Creative Commons changed it to some rights reserved, and again something called CC0 or a public domain, where no rights will be reserved and no attribution may be also required. So these are the 6 models of Creative Commons license, and up till now 1.6 billion work has been copyrighted under the Creative Commons license. So here you can say the basic model is a attribution, means anyone can use and modify anyway, no problem with that, but only the attribution means your name has to be cited. Then here in this case, attribution and share like, someone can use it, but they can also change the work, but same license has to be used. Okay, something like attribution non-commercial means it cannot be used for money making purpose, but you have to still give the credit, but you cannot make money. So attribution no derivative means you cannot modify my PPT, okay, but you just use it and give the citations or cite my PPT. Then there is something called attribution non-commercial non-derivative. It is very less open access Creative Commons license, okay, because open access philosophies here fails, I feel. Then attribution non-commercial share like, that means not for money making, but you can use it for your other purpose, but you have to give share like same license which that person has used. So something like that you can do, as I mentioned, that most open to the least open. I said, na, attribution, non-commercial, non-derivative. The least open means the open access standards are less for this particular license. There is a very important aspect that I must mention, means it cannot be complete without author's addendum. As I said that all rights reserved to some rights reserved, correct? So the Spark author addendum mentions what? That your work, your rights, correct? It's very, very wisely mentioned that it is your work and it is your rights. So before you write to any article or transfer copyright to the journal, you must read the copyright license or a copyright agreement of that publishers, and you must negotiate with the publisher. You know, negotiation ka zamana is like that. So in case of publishing also, there is a negotiation happens in case of copyright, right? So what is Spark Author Addendum means? It is a legal instrument that you can use to modify your copyright transfer agreements with non-open access journal publishers. See, non-open access means commercial publisher. So it allows you to select which individual rights out of the bundle of the copyrights you want to keep, such as distributing copies in the course of teaching and research, then posting the article on a personal institutional website, or creating derivative work. You know, so when what is author rights, you as an author have the following exclusive rights unless and until you transfer the copyright in a signed agreement, you know. And what you have that have the right, that is reproduction, distribution, public performance, public display, and modification of original work. These are the 5 different type of things that you can perform with the work that you have done or work that you have created, and that you are restricting when you are transferring copyright to the commercial publishers while publishing your article. So author rights negotiation has to be like understand the basics of copyright, make a list of things you want and the things you need. Okay, then have in person or a telephonic discussion. You can just write an email to the publishers and their corresponding person about the copyright. Then frame your request in way that explains your need. Means you have to mention, you have to write in such a polite way or maybe a clear way, so that publisher will understand what exactly modification you want with your copyright. Then you try to understand the publisher's needs and offers to work with them. You just can't say that okay, this is not happening means I don't want to do it. No, it won't be. Okay, you have to understand publisher's point of view also and just come out with some good solution. Then make sure all agreements made are explicitly stated and in writing before closing. You know, it must be written down what you want from the publishers or what are your expectation, and it has to be understand by the publisher, so that your work you can deposit or you can reproduce or you can use it anyway the way you want. Okay, so this author's addendum is very important in now today's scenario, and more authors are becoming aware of this particular their own rights, and they are trying to negotiate with the publishers and trying to gain the support the green mode of OA. So this is the addendum, this public agreement that they have given on their website of Spark Open. So you can have this kind of agreement with the publishers. You can they have given a sample copy of this. Like this you can have like authors retention of rights or publishers additional commitments or acknowledgement or something like that, how it can be, how it should be. So you have to sign, the publisher has to be signed. So something like that, they have given a very good sample copy and that you can use it. So here in case of tips for choosing the right journal, as I mentioned that it has to be national or international, or the frequency of the journal has to be good. It should be indexed, right? They should also have a good guidelines on their journal's website, author guidelines or peer review policy, something like that. Then they should have a digital object identifier, ISSN number. Then you can consult with your mentors, seniors, supervisors, which is good, which is bad. These are the 3 important points that you have to remember, that you cannot submit your article to more than 1 journal at a time. It's totally legally, you can say, banned, or it's a very bad thing to do, submit, because this happens that people submit because the publishing process is so long. People try to submit 2-3 journals so that So anyone who accepts early and the process happens, then it will get published. But that is a bad practice. That should not be there, because while submitting, you sign I agree. When you sign tick on I agree, that time you say that this article has not been submitted to any other journal. Okay, so that should you are legally you have to abide the legal laws. You know, publishers are very smart. So the second aspect is, if you are a beginner, then maybe the top tier journal may not be suitable for you, because if you directly write an article in your topmost journal in your area, it is likely to get rejected straight away. You know, because their writing, their entire approach is very different, very critical. So you start with the small journals, maybe referee journals, and then you should aim to publish your article in a top tier journal. Okay, and don't get demotivated if your article get rejected. You know, because sometimes what happens, our research is very small scale, or maybe not very deep or superficial, so it may get rejected. But sometimes target audience is different, the subject scope is different, so it gets rejected. Even the format, style, and the guidelines, that if we do not follow, it will get rejected. Okay, then you must work on the rationale of the study. Then you should have a good research methodology, and the analysis findings you have to write in such a way, along with the discussion, so that it should be appealing or it should get accepted. As all of you know that UGC care listed has came out, and it has given us a good guideline for all Indian researchers where to publish. Okay, so they basically have two groups of journals, that is group 1 and group 2. Group 1 is a list that they care has prepared. Okay, and group 2 is that journals that are indexed in a globally recognized databases are automatically included in the care list group 2. So here is the link, website looks like. So here you can see the Language Arts Journal of Michigan, one that is included in the UGC care list. I told you that even care has given the clone journals list. Okay, almost I think 10 to 12 or 10 to 15 journals they have identified, like how they make fool people, okay, or researcher. Like this Abru journal, the good journal title is Abru, and this fake journal's name is Abru Journal. JOURNAL is written. Okay, so there is a ISSN proper number, there is a URL, there is a publisher's name is properly given. But in case of Abru Journal, they have their own website, but the established or the good journal's name is Abru, not Abru Journal. So like here also they have given Akshargatha UGC Abru Journal. This is the title, which is a fake journal. So like this, UGC care list also try to find out such type of journals, so that they make aware the readers that these are the fake journals, please don't go for it. Recently UGC care list has come out with this particular publication, that is a good academic research practices, where they have given a very good checklist, checklist for writing, how to select a journal, how to do the data collection, how to write a scientific review, what are the mistakes that you should avoid while writing or submitting the article, how to identify good journal, plagiarism and all. Okay, so this particular document is available online. You can download and you can make use of it. So what are the steps that researchers need to follow is that search OA, search engines and OA databases, then select the topic for the research, then write an article for OA journal, then self-archive preprints, postprints in repositories as well as your own website, and promote OA. So this is the impact of open access. Impact is on institutions, authors, okay, as well as the readers. Readers will free of cost will read your article, whatever you have done. See, writing an article is a lot of headache, lot of hard work. and that hard work should not be restricted by the publishers not allowing anyone to read, right? Whatever you have done, your research, that has to be publicly accessible, so that you should feel proud that people are reading and understanding what research is going on. So hereby I thank VES and ICT for giving me the opportunity to talk about adopting OA. I hope that, I just want to promise from all participants that they follow this foot of, or you can say, they should follow the path of this open access, and they should flourish, they should contribute in flourishing the open access movement.
Thank you, Dr. Sarika. It was a very exhaustive and informative presentation. We'll take up a few questions. Yeah. So one of the participant is asking, does the UGC Care List journal include green access or both green and gold?
See, they have only gold, not green. Green means you are depositing your article on your home page or institutional repository or a subject repository. Okay, so this is something different. It's not a journal. Green OA is not a journal. Gold OA is a journal. Means you have to select the journal which is openly accessible, available over the internet. There you have to submit your article and see to it that you meet all the standards, you go through all peer review process, and after publishing that journal, it is available over the throughout your scientific community. So that is different. And then after your article get published in the open access journal, preprint, you have to check the Sherpa Romeo policies or on that journal's policy. Since it is an open access journal, you don't need to check the policies. You can straightforward deposit article, preprint or a print or preprint, postprint of that article anywhere you want. Even you can just make images of your article and keep it in the slideshare also. I have seen that also. People keep the PDF or they make images. Suppose they have a 5-page article. So they take the 5 images, they keep it on a slideshare to have the visibility to their research. So you can do anything with your articles if you, once you publish your article in a OA mode, gold route.
Thank you.
One of the participants wants to know, is there any fees associated to get Creative Commons license on figure, picture, etc.?
No,
is the procedure online? Yeah.
No, it's a free of cost. You just go and find out. Means they have a very good form they have given where you can fill up that form. Means then you will be sure which type of Creative Commons license you want for your work, and you will just get that logo, that hyperlink, not hyperlink. That is called as HTTP will be generated, and that you have to copy paste on your own homepage where you have posted your article. Nothing else. Suppose you have created one poster. I will give you example. Suppose you have created one nice poster about your research. Okay. And then you go to the Creative Commons license, choose which license, like there are 6 licenses. Choose which license you want and then fill up that form and get that logo along with your poster which you are depositing on your homepage or pasting it on your homepage. So that logo will come with that. So whoever read your poster on your homepage will understand if this is copyrighted, Creative Commons copyrighted work, and the terms and conditions, someone clicks on that will able to see what are the terms and conditions. So that is what you have to do. It's a procedure, but if you are organized, you will be able to do it very well.
Thank you.
So I think the second part of the question was to do with how to submit and how to get the Creative Commons license for the images. And I think, ma'am, you have answered that also. There is one question, actually it's a statement also, and the researcher is saying that UGC Care List is constantly being updated many times. Some journals are removed. So as a researcher, how do I keep track of all this when I submit a research paper?
This is a question, very common questions with everyone. Even I had asked this question to the concerned people. It is quarterly updated, right? So suppose In the month of June, I submitted article to the journal, which is UGC care listed, and maybe at the end of the peer review, like maybe 6 months and 9 months after that quarterly reading out, that journal is not there, then my chance of journal or whatever points I'm getting, if I'm publishing my article in that journal, will go away. But it's not the case. You can prove, or you can say that when I submitted this article, that time it was a care listed, but later on they removed it. So you have to convince to your institution saying that considering the quality, consider my quality of publication, consider the this particular scenario, and then you please consider my case. Something like that you can do the argument, but we can't do argument with the UGC.
Yeah. So the very important fact that you highlighted is the quality of the research work. Finally,
Yes.
that is the most important thing that as researchers, all of us must remember.
Yes. So you should follow the standard of writing the good quality journal article. You know, if you write a good quality journal, even though you write in the low standard journal, even though it is not UGC listed, still people read that and give you comments, you know, and that also has a citations. You can also get a citation for that that article, even though it is in the low standard journal you are publishing. That gives you the confidence to write in the top tier journal.
Thank you very much. Your presentation was indeed very informative and exhaustive. You covered a lot of resources, open access resources, Directory of Open Access journals, books, institutional repositories as an important source of information, and also to enhance the visibility of the researcher, the preprint servers, search engines for the preprint servers, important topics of predatory journals and clone journals. I think these are two very, very important topics. The distinction between the two also is very important for the researchers to understand. The Sherpa Romeo website, where the researcher can know the rights that the author has in terms of archiving policies, and also a very important point of the author addendum, where the researcher can negotiate for the rights that he or she wants with respect to his publication. Thank you very much. It was indeed very wonderful to have this entire session on open access, and I'm sure with this session and the tips given by you, many researchers would like to adopt open access in some way or the other, or they will surely begin with that. So yes, that will be the future to open science, and that is what is the need of the hour. And for the science and society to progress, open science is the final destination. So let's hope this session proves to be fruitful for all the researchers. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, Madhvi, for the next session.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to interact with all of you. And if you have any questions, my email ID is always there, and you can contact me anytime for any kind of guidance. I'm there. So, dear participants, please feel free to contact me, and we can have a discussion over email also. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All the best. Post your email in the chat box also, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
So taking our open access topic further, we move on to the practical session of today, which will kind of complete our topic of openness or open access, starting from philosophy and concept to adopting open access, and now practically knowing how to use the open source research tool. This is going to be a practical session on Zotero and open source reference manager. To conduct this practical session, we have with us Dr. Sunita Barve from NCL Pune for the second time. In her previous session, she had introduced you all to the various research tools where she prominently spoke on open source, open access research tools, from which her keenness towards OA is clearly seen. Today, she is actually going to take you through one of the important research tools, the reference manager, Zotero. We take pleasure in welcoming Dr. Sunita Barve once again to this TechWith supported 7-day national level capacity building program, e-Shodhyatra, Emerging Trends and Technologies in Scholarly Communication. Before I hand over to her, a brief introduction once again. Dr. Sunita Barve is working in CSIR National Chemical Laboratory, Pune. Prior to NCL, she has worked in NCRA Pune for about 22 years. Dr. Barve has more than 29 years of experience working in a research library. She is looking after overall administration and management of CSIR NCL Library, Pune. She is a recipient of Special Library Association SLA, USA PAM, and STA Award. She has also received travel awards from IFLA, ETD, and LISA. She has vast experience on using Linux operating system as well as implementing open source technologies in libraries for various operations such as digital libraries, library automation, library websites, organizing e-webinars through open source software. Dr. Barve has conducted more than 60 workshops on Koha, DSpace, Drupal, and other open source technologies used in libraries. She has delivered more than 20 lectures in national and international conferences. Her research interests mainly include digital libraries, library automation, digital preservation, and data repositories. Dr. Barve has also helped many libraries to implement Koha and DSpace. And once again, I would like to mention that Dr. Barve is also the member of our advisory committee for e-Shodhyatra program. Welcome once again, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you, Madhavi, again repeatedly giving a full introduction about me. Participant would have thought it is a kind of repetition, but anyway, today we are we are going to talk actually about Zotero, because I delivered a talk on research tools, and the plan today is I will just show you practically how Zotero works. I will also try to show you the Mendeley desktop installation. And of course, it's within 1 hour, I'm going to show all the participants basically what is Zotero and how Zotero works. If you remember in day before yesterday talk, what I had done is basically Zotero is reference management software, which is really very essential, helpful, and open source. When I'm talking about open source, I'm sorry, there is a disturbance. I'll just close the window. Give me a minute. So basically, reference management tools or software is essential to gather all the references that you use for your research purpose or you're writing an article. And it is, as I have mentioned in my talk, we need to really adopt the practice of noting down all the references that we use for our research, because over the year, our research, we carry out our research maybe for 5 years, 7 years, and we may forget when we are really sitting and writing our chapters, which is one of the biggest tasks for any researcher. And at that time, if you have a good library of your all references that you have used, the life becomes easier while you are writing your research thesis. It could be article or your thesis. Because I'm a staunch follower of open source software, what do I mean by open source software is the program which is used, the developed program is available to the end user, so that if at all that person wants to make any change in that software, he or she can do it. Or there is a good user community which constantly bring out the new version of that software, and you can use that software, the benefit it is. On the other hand, commercial platform where they are providing some free versions and all, basically it is a commercial platform. So any given point of time, there is a dependency. They will expect that you put in some money and get the additional features which are provided with that software. So coming back, today we are going to see how the Zotero is working. Because on my laptop, the Linux operating system is installed, what I have done is I have just created one virtual machine of Windows 7. I do not know the participants which operating system they have on their laptop or desktop or whatever device they have. But you can choose any operating system. It could be Linux or it could be Windows or Mac. Any of the operating systems Zotero works. I'm going to show you right now the demonstration on Windows 7 installation of a virtual machine which I have created. Now I will just try to share my screen and hope it is visible. Let me, Madhavi, I'll just try to share my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You have to just tell me whether it is visible properly or not.
Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
It's visible.
Yes.
Now, it's properly been visible. Am I right, Madhavi?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, great.
The desktop.
So now this is, if you see this screen, of course, at the back, my host is Linux operating system. And if you see here, this square box, that's a VM player. In the VM player, I have created one Windows installation. And on that Windows installation, actually, I don't use Windows operating system at all, but I thought probably many of the participants would not know Linux, and then it would be kind of, they may think that they are not able to follow properly. So I just created one installation of Windows 7. On this Windows 7, what I have done, I downloaded and installed Mozilla Firefox. I downloaded and installed Chrome. Just because I think Mendeley was connecting me to Chrome, so I installed it. Then I also installed Mendeley Desktop, and I installed Zotero. Now, just to install Zotero on your Windows 7, or it could be Windows 8 or Windows 10. Now, I have no idea about Windows latest operating system that all of you will have. But to just install Zotero, what you have to do is zotero.org. You have to go to the zotero.org. When you click on Zotero.org site, you will be able to see Zotero.org, wherein you can create a login and password. This login and password, if you remember, I had mentioned in my yesterday's talk, you can also create your library through this login and password, which means you do not need to install anything. But with this login and password, you also can create, let me try to connect here. I always forget the passwords. Okay, luckily it took. Okay, so what this is now the Zotero server in which I have created some data. Okay, if you see here, all my research data is available here, but this is available on my Zotero server, okay, with login and password which I have created. But here there is a limitation, the limitation of uploading the full text of the papers. Zotero with their server allow you to only upload 300 MB data. Okay, so if you want to avoid that part, what you can do is you can again go back to Zotero and go to you can download Zotero. Click on Zotero. As I have said, you can install Zotero for Mac, Windows, and Linux operating system. Whatever operating system you have, when you click on download, it will give you automatically Windows or Linux or Mac as an option. You can download this file, and then you can also create connector. This is called as install Firefox connector. Now again I will show you. Now already I have done these jobs. I'm just trying to show you how you can start with basically. So you can download, and then you can also click on install Firefox connector. Once you have done that, you will be able to see this option. Okay, so this is the basic installation screen of your Zotero. This is called as Zotero Desktop Edition. Okay, so when you have clicked on installation, that's a simple exe file you have to download, and you have to double click on that Zotero file, and you will be able to see this part. Now also I have one more part I have done just because to save the time. It is not that because we have only 1 hour and I wanted to show you the installation of Zotero. And on Windows machine, because this is a ISO which I have of Windows 7 old somewhere which was lying with me, and I created a virtual machine of Windows 7, I did not have any Microsoft Office installed on this ISO. Okay, please remember. Now I'm going to write my paper, or I am going to write my research article, thesis. To do that, I will need some Microsoft Word or LibreOffice Writer. Now, some of you are aware, or some of, if you are not aware, LibreOffice is again a parallel, if you are working on Microsoft Office and comfortable, but I would again recommend, it's an free open source document management. I mean, you can create a Word file, you can create Excel file, you can create your presentation. All that can happen with LibreOffice, and it works much, much better than Microsoft Office. Again, because I am using, I'm a staunch follower of open source technology. I downloaded and installed LibreOffice on this installation of my machine. So why I just wanted to show you how again I can write my paper and use Zotero while writing my paper. Okay, so I just saved some time by downloading Zotero, by downloading Mendeley, by downloading LibreOffice. Again, it is very easy for all Windows people. You don't have to do anything. Download the exe files and double click, it installs. For a Linux, it's a small, there is a small installation business comes into picture. But for Windows, you don't just have to double click on exe file and this software gets installed. So what I have done, I have installed LibreOffice, I have installed Zotero here, I have installed Chrome, I have installed Mendeley here, just to save the time. And I have also installed Acrobat Reader, because by default, this Windows installation did not have anything. So I had to kind of set up this machine for showing you the demonstration. Now, once I have installed Zotero here, I will be able to see this screen. Okay, now what is all this? If you can see here, there is an option: File, Edit, View, Tools, and Help. When I click on File, I can create a new item. New item, again, if you see all, somebody had asked, I think, I don't remember, how to cite a web page. Okay, so there is an option here. You can cite a web page also, or website also. So you can create a variety of citations or references of variety of these types. Like, it could, you can cite a thesis, you can cite a software, you can cite a presentation, you can cite a patent, you can cite a newspaper article, you can cite a letter, you can cite a journal article, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the list is really very big. Okay, then you can add the note, you can create a collection, you can import the data from, say, for example, many of the people use Mendeley also. I will show you the basic difference with Mendeley and Zotero, how they function basically. You can export the library. Remember, very often, if at all you have decided to use Zotero, very often I would request all of you to take the backup of whatever data wherever you have installed the standalone machine, because maybe you may have some issues with your Zotero installation, or you may have some issues with your hard drive or anything. It is a good practice to keep the backup of your Zotero full text files that you have saved, as well as the data that you have created. I will show you that also. Then you can edit your whatever data you have. You can view your data. Then in the tools option, there are a few things. I will try to show you what all those options, and help, there is help available. Now, when at all, imagine the scenario, this is your basic Zotero installation screen, and this is a desktop edition of Zotero. Okay, you are not working on the server part. Okay, here is my server is zotero.org, which I can see through the browser. I'm not going to save any data on my Zotero server with my login. What is my login, which I use? Sunita Barve. I'm going to carry out the data entry on my standalone installation of my Windows operating system, where I have started my Zotero. Okay, now let me try to show you some of the things. Before starting, there is an option called as preferences. Okay, now what are these preferences? Basically, that is what I will show you. You can update your Zotero if at all there is any new version which has come up. Now, where all your data, basically whatever entries that you are creating in your Zotero, what do I mean by entries? I can enter the name of the author, title, journal article, blah, 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 that are called as metadata or bibliographic details. Okay, for that article which I am entering, and the full text if at all I have attached to that article. So where all this data gets saved in, all that data will, if at all you are using Windows, that gets saved in C:/users Sunita. It creates a Zotero as a folder, and it will save all the full text over there. That is called as a data directory. So you have to basically keep a copy of this directory as a safer side. If something goes wrong, you have the data. And all that data entry, that bibliographic details that you create, that creates one SQL file. So that is called as SQL, some .sql extension is there. That copy and this Zotero folder, if you keep intact, you are safe that something happens with this installation of your Zotero, still you can again reinstall and import all that data and you are safe. Okay, that you have to remember. Then you can sync all the data that you have entered. Suppose imagine a scenario, today you are in my library and you want to gather some of the references. Now what you can do is you can gather those references from your Zotero server account, or if that library allow you to install Zotero, you can install it, gather references with the full text, and then sync option is available. What does the sync will do? I can use this username and password is basically connected with the Zotero server. So what will happen is all my metadata will be synced on the Zotero server, not the full text, because full text, it is restricting me with only 300 MB. Okay, it is not allowing me more than 300 MB. And imagine the scenario, I may collect the data in GB because I'm doing the research over the year and I'm downloading the full text wherever they are available in whichever library I walk in. And if I get access to those journals, because my library may not have everything that is required for my research purpose. So I can, in a standalone machine, I can keep the full text as many as I can, because as I'm in the limitation of my hard disk. The Zotero does not have any limitation with that part, that you have to remember. But if at all I am syncing, syncing only is allowed with the metadata level. Full text will not be synced. Okay, then I can search, I can export my library. Now here is the big question, which if you all of you remember, I had mentioned Zotero has a style library of 8,000 style libraries. Okay, by default with this screen, it will show you some of these libraries like Chicago Manual Style 17th edition, Chicago Manual Style, and then IEEE style, Elsevier style, Nature style, Vancouver style, Bibla, whatever, EndNote style, Mod style, RIS, and blah blah blah. Okay, you can go on adding in this list. I will also show you how to add them, whatever, along with the default. And you can also see, basically you can export the data in the style sheet that you want. Here, this is again, you can get the additional style. That is how you can get the additional styles from the Zotero library, and they will be listed out here. Okay, then Zotero gets, as I had mentioned, I installed LibreOffice for this reason. What it will do is it will integrate it with the word processor that you have. Okay, so what will happen is, if you are writing a research paper or if you are writing a thesis, whatever reference that you want, once you have integrated your Zotero and your LibreOffice or Microsoft Word, you can integrate with each other. Then automatically you can pull in the reference from Zotero library to your Word, or from Zotero library to your LibreOffice writer. Okay, I will show you that example as well. Then when you click on the advanced option, the general is basically, it's not anything that you need to remember. I have already mentioned where all your data gets stored. Basically that's it. You have to check the preferences. What kind of preferences are important before are you going to sync your all references that you are collecting? Then you enter your login and password here. Then another part is, if you do not want this folder, or you want to copy all the data on your external drive. For example, suppose you attach a USB drive or your external drive, and you want to keep constantly all the data keeping on the external drive, then you can choose that as a folder. So everything that you save in Zotero will get saved in that external drive. Okay, that is, I mean, you are using this installation just as a mediator, and you are going to collect all the data in that external drive. That is basically allowed. So these are some preferences that you have to. Then another option, another point you have to remember is click on the install browser connector. I have already done that, but I'm just trying to again click and just show you how this browser connector gets installed, which is what is here. Zotero is online. Okay, that browser connector is need to be installed. I have already done that. Then timeline I will show you after we add some records. This add-ons option is again very important. Again, I have done some installation. What does basically it does is Zotero has lot of plugins. Okay, I will just go to Google and try to show you and what they are basically. So before you start using Zotero, you have to do some basic setting kind of, and then you can start using. So when you click on plugins option here on Zotero, there are many plugins that every developer is trying to develop to just give an additional benefit to the end user for various options. Like first plugin is automatically retrieve author ORCID profiles to see related work. So this Zotero Memento is an adopted plugin. Then to see the lookup citation count, then Google Scholar citation for Zotero, DOI Manager, Data Grabber. So there are many such plugins. There is no need to install all of them. But if you think any plugin is essential for you, how you can install it, I'll just show you quickly. And then I have not, of course, installed all of them because it was just to show you how this works basically. So let me just try to pick up one, and then let us say Date Grabber. Okay, when I click on Date Grabber, there will be a file called as XPI. Okay, what you have to do is right click and save link as, and save this file on your machine somewhere. Now it gets saved in the downloads folder. Okay, I have saved it. Now how do I get that file? Click on add-ons manager. This gearbox is there. Install add-on from file, and then I go to downloads folder, and what is that? Date last modified, and open. Okay, and then it will say install. Well, and then it will ask me, should I restart the Zotero? Yes, I will just restart it. So what does it does is it will try to have those plugins. Again, they are not essential, but they are kind of additional features which Zotero supports for working it better for you to carry out the work. So that is how the tools part will take care. Okay. Now here I will just go on explaining one by one. Now this small yellow box, I can create a new collection. That means, what do I mean by a collection? Suppose I'm working on one paper, I create one collection by that name. I am writing my thesis, I create another collection by that name. So that will help me to sort out all my references which are required for my research, and I can remember, okay, this collection is meant for only writing thesis. This collection is meant for writing this paper article. This collection is meant for writing this another article. That is one way you can create as many number of collections as you want. The second gearbox is new group. I can now connect my Zotero installation with the Zotero server. Like let's say that Madhavi, Meghna and I are writing one paper. So we three can jointly collect the references, but that does not happen on the standalone version. That will again have to connect to the Zotero login and password on Zotero server, and we three can start collecting the references. Basically, that is that. A new feed. What do I mean by a feed? I do not know how many of you are aware about RSS technology. Really simple syndication is the meaning. What do I mean by RSS feed is, let us say I'm working on digital preservation as a subject area, and I want to know what are the new articles published on this subject from, let us say 10 journals, which I read very regularly. So all these 10 journals will have an sorry, RSS feed. Okay. What I can do is I can subscribe to that RSS feed from those 10 journals, and automatically a new article, when it's published on digital preservation, will be downloaded on my Zotero installation. So I can really get those RSS feeds from those URLs, and automatically my Zotero will update those references on digital preservation. Okay. So that is one facility which Zotero has. You can check that. That's very easy. And then next part is, I can add item, as I have mentioned, told you many times. I mean, you can add, as I have said, you can add a reference of book section, conference paper, document, email, film, blah 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 blah. Okay, the list is very big, you can just go on and do that. Okay, then you can also add files from the folder, and Zotero, you remember my talk, I mentioned automatically it will retrieve the bibliographic details from the PDF that you attaching. Okay, then you can link to a file, you can store copy, and there are many more things you can do. Again, if you remember, I had mentioned you just have to enter the DOI. Zotero will automatically enter the bibliographic details into your collection. You can enter the details with ISBN, DOI, PubMed ID, or ARXIV ID, and all those references will automatically come in. We will see that. Then one more thing is I can attach a note to every item. Every item means every reference that I'm adding in my Zotero collection. So I can tag every reference, I can attach a note, I can have child note also, so that I don't have to remember. You know what happens when we are doing a research, we go through various data, a lot of articles, lot of books, lot of thesis, many things we refer. And something we always have in our mind, oh, this article I need only for this purpose. So that noting kind of thing you can attach with every reference that you have. Here is you can attach the full text. I will show you. The search option is a very good search option Zotero has. Just a search as well as advanced search is a very good search what Zotero has. And here you can also look up in some search engines and gather the data. Now let us see the scenario. Let me just try to create one. Let us say research thesis, my thesis. Okay, that's my collection. Okay, now this is the first collection I have created called as my thesis data. Okay, maybe I will rename it. Now, my thesis data. Now, I have told you there are various ways by which you can enter the references. Now, let us see the first way. Okay. Now, let us say I'm working on the digital preservation. So, I will go to first of all scholar.google, because that is very many times we would use Google Scholar and try to search for the papers from the Google Scholar. So, now let us say I want to add my own paper. Okay. So this is my paper, and what I will do is, okay, now my paper here, as soon as the paper is listed out, can you see here my Zotero Z has changed it to a kind of different square, and it is, I can save it to Zotero. I can click on it and I can save it to Zotero. As soon as I have done that and I am in my thesis data, if you can see here, automatically all the bibliographic details of this paper has been saved. Can you see that? Now, some of you could have already seen. Let me try to, because that's a small, I should have done that. I think I have given you the unpaywall. Please use this unpaywall add-on on your Mozilla Firefox. It's a good way to get the full text of, get the extension. I did not add to Firefox. I'll just do that. So if my full text of my paper is available, yeah, it is giving me some error. My thesis data, no, it has saved actually. Yeah. Okay. So this is, it has done. Now I want to get the full text of my paper. Okay. I'll just try to close this. Okay. Now, I do not want this. Okay. Add to Firefox. Did I not do that? Yeah. Add. Yeah. Okay. Now, if my paper is available openly, now this is showing me a lock here. Let me try to again, it will try to find out, I think somewhere if it finds, it will allow me to download that full text of my paper. Oh, okay, it is not available. Okay, fine. Maybe somewhere else I can, PDF from academia is available, but I will have to log in there. Okay, any other paper I will just get that. Okay, so this is one more my own paper which is available here, which I can get. Okay, now if you see, this is the PDF I have. Automatically Zotero has changed its icon. I will click on it and then what will happen, let us see. Okay, now if you see here, it has downloaded the PDF as well as downloaded the metadata. You could see here, right? But this metadata has not come in completely, like title has come, author has come, abstract has come, but other details have not come. So I can go and update those details, because whatever it could retrieve, it has retrieved, rest it has not retrieved. So that is one way. Basically, whenever you are in a browser, so whenever you are in a browser, you try to click on the option here. Now, let me also show you one more way. What happens with the Zotero is, again, I will go to scholar.google.com. And I will say digital preservation. Now, if you see, I hope you have observed now. Now there is another box which has come up, which means it has whatever 63,000 articles which are found by Google Scholar on digital preservation. Zotero is asking me how many of these articles you want to get into your library. Okay, so how I can do that? Let me just show you quickly. Okay, so I click on this option. Right? So I will try to pick up some of these papers which I really think they should be available in my Zotero library. Now let us say I want this paper, I want this paper, I want this paper. Let us say select all, okay? And say okay. Now, as soon as I say saving to my thesis, and if I come back to my, automatically Zotero will download all these references from my Google Scholar to my Zotero library. Again, many of them would not have full text attached to it. So I will have to make an effort to get the full text from these references wherever the full text is available. So that is the way. If full text is available, it will automatically be coming here. There are available. So if you see my Zotero is getting updated, it will take some time. Yeah, full text is available. Okay, so that is how I can go on adding the references from the internet, whatever the references I can go on adding. Now another way is, let us say I have a full text PDF I have downloaded in some folder. Let us say I think I have here. I think I downloaded some PDFs. Not this. Okay. I think I thought I have copy pasted some of the PDF. Oh, desktop, I think. Yeah, sorry. Okay, here. Okay, so these are some of the PDFs I already have. Okay, now I want to bring all these PDFs into my thesis area. So how I can do that? Let's see. Okay, so I'll just close down this. And here is my, okay, so I have to just drag and drop my PDF here. Okay, has it come here? Okay, so I can just go on dragging and dropping here PDFs, whichever I want to be added under my thesis collection. Okay, and Zotero will automatically try to retrieve, let us say I just take up 5 of them and bring them all here. Okay, so what will happen is Zotero will bring all those PDFs here and update the metadata for all these PDFs automatically wherever it finds. Okay, very importantly, you should have the network connection when you are doing it. Can you see here? It is processing all these 5 PDFs and my library collection for my thesis work is getting updated. Okay, so wherever it does not find the matching metadata, it won't do any job. So as a researcher, you will have to spend that much of time in updating your metadata for every article that you have brought into this middle pen. This is called as a middle pen. Okay, please remember this will take some time depending on the metadata it gathers from the internet and then updates in your Zotero library. Okay, so you all have to remember this part. It is also also possible that you can update every record, and you can change the what I should say, you can change the document type, you can change the metadata. Like for example, let us say here, okay, see for example, for this paper, it has got the author name, it has got the publisher name, it has picked up from the library Google Scholar, but no other details are available. So such records which are not complete, either you delete them or update them with proper metadata records. Then in future, whenever you want to use your Zotero library for actually writing your thesis, you won't have any trouble while writing your thesis. Okay, that is how you can. Now another way I just wanted to show you is getting just article from the DOI. Let us say I want to bring the article from a DOI. Let us say I have one journal. I'm just manually showing you the options. There is no need to follow that. What happened? Oh, is the network gone? Madhavi, am I audible? Yeah. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, okay. Please let me know in between if I'm not audible. I just
No, you are.
Yeah, okay, okay. Now, let us say I want to download one bibliographic reference for this article. Now, if you see here, there is an DOI attached to this article. I just want to get the article based on DOI. Okay, so I just copy this DOI. Okay, come back to my Zotero. Okay, and here is that small pen. I paste this DOI here. Okay, and enter. Okay, automatically what will happen is Zotero will try to, can you see here? It has updated. It is a journal article. The title is spin dependent, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Author names, a journal of is SCS Nano, page numbers, date, and then SCS Nano language is English, DOI, ISSN, URL, when accessed, which is also very important. Many times when you're writing your thesis, many times you have to add that when it is accessed, because many times web pages are available. Sometimes, you don't find those web pages in existence at all. So what you can do is, let's say, for example, I want to take a snapshot of a web page and I want to add in my reference. Let us say recently Nature has published their own open access policy. Okay. Now, sorry, I should have said Nature. Okay, so this is a reference which I want to use for my research work, and I want to use this in my Zotero. So what I can do is on this box, I can right click and I can say save to Zotero with web page with snapshot. Okay, what do I mean by with snapshot? Means actually a whole this web page will be saved as it is. So tomorrow, even if this web page does not exist in your Zotero library, a photocopy of this web page is available. Okay, I can show you here. Give me a minute. Where it has gone? Yeah, here. Okay, so if you see here, my machine has become a bit slow because it is running on virtual box, so it's taking some time to if I click on the things, but that is how you can save. Okay, so you can save it to the Zotero by, so imagine the scenario, how many of these references are available in my library now. Oh my god, it became. Hello Madhavi, are you able to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
We are able to see.
but I know it got a kind of a slow response. It is giving a very slow response. Okay, at least I could show you people. I tried to click many times, and then it's taking the RAM for this machine as well as the host machine, because of which it's becoming a bit slow. That's fine. So this is how. Let me try to close this. Okay. any of the windows I had opened, so because of which it became slow. Yeah. Okay, so I think I have, see within just 10 minutes, how many references I could gather? 23 items I could gather. Okay, now the scenario is you can go on adding the items as I have mentioned. You can add the items by DOI. You can just upload the full text from here. Here is, you can attach full text later also. If for some reference you have found the full text later, you can attach that reference later on also. And then that's how you can go on adding the references, update your, let's say, as I have mentioned, if something is missing here, you can let's say the abstract content was missing. I'm just adding the, if you find the abstract, you can update it here and automatically that reference will get updated. You can attach, as I have said, notes to every reference that you want. You can attach the tags. What do I mean by tags is I can uh, I can give the keywords as I wish. Let us say I will say here, basically it works more on, let us say if I say it works more on PDF A. Okay, and similarly I can go on clustering articles with this tagging, which is more easier for me as a researcher to add the tags for every paper that I want. So this is one of the good feature that Zotero has. As I have said, notes I can attach. I can see the details about every article. And now, if at all after using all this, I want to start writing the thesis. Let's say I have collected 500,000, 2,000, whatever is the number, the references I have collected. Now I want to start writing my article. So what I can do is I can go to LibreOffice and I can start my writer. Okay, and I will just try to show you. Okay, now here if you see here, because I have connected my Zotero with integrated my Zotero with LibreOffice, I can see these icons. Okay, now let us say I'm trying to write my research paper and referring to Zotero references and first reference. Okay, now here I want to give the reference. Now what I can do is add edit citation, add edit bibliography, refresh, then I can set document preferences and unlink. Later on say I do not want to use the reference. Now let us say first I want to add the reference. Okay, this guy is terribly slow. Here. Okay, it is asking me which citation style you want to use for this paper which you are writing. Let us say I say IEEE. Okay, and then I will say I want to refer Barve, paper written by Barve. So I will use this and enter. Okay, automatically my reference is picked up, and if you see later on, I can use this at the end of the paper to generate a bibliography. Okay, I can say, let us say it has gone to automatically. I have added as a bibliography, but you can add the bibliography at the end of the document, or you can keep it here and automatically at the you can write as a bibliography and generate a bibliography here. Okay, let us say I say here bibliography, and I can insert the bibliography here. Fine. So these dots as will come. Okay, this is how automatically my bibliography gets generated. I can enter my reference while I am writing my thesis. So this is very easy when you use Zotero. Now let us say I want to use a few other things in Zotero. Let us say I want to create a bibliography from X collection. Just I want to send it to someone. Let us say I want to send it to as an attachment to someone. And I want to use now the Chicago manual style. And I want to save it as I want to save it as an RTF. I can say okay, and it will be saved in my thesis and save. Now when I click on the downloads option here, what do I name gave here? RTF. Yeah. So when I click on this part, see here how my bibliography has been generated. Okay. It has I have opened it in my WordPad, but automatically everything will be picked up from whatever data is available in Zotero. Okay, so that is how you can export your bibliography as well. My machine is getting slower. Okay. Okay. Now again, when I right click, I can also generate a report from my collection. So what kind of report it does? See, automatically whatever records it has, it will generate a report, which I want to save it later on for any use. I can use that report as well. So that's again one of the feature that Zotero has. Now when again I right click here, I can export this collection. Imagine the scenario. I'm not going to use this option right now because it becomes slow. You can try it later. It works well. If at all I want to import the Zotero data into, say, tomorrow Mendeley. Okay, it is much easier. You have to just export the collection into, let us say, BibTeX format or CSV format or RIS format or any other format that you have, and Mendeley like software will import it. Because Zotero is open source, it can accept any data or it can export any data, but is not the case with Mendeley, because Mendeley, though they claim it is a free software, there are a lot of limitations with Mendeley. And Elsevier, it is a publisher which is a commercial publisher. They have put in a lot of limitations when you are using Mendeley. I will show you quickly a small demo about Mendeley as well. But there are certain limitations if you are using Mendeley. But again, some people are comfortable in using Mendeley. I do not want to discourage them. You can go ahead and use Mendeley as long as you are comfortable and you are happy with the data that you have. But because again and again I have mentioned, I use open source technology, so is Zotero I'm talking about. You can rename this collection, you can delete the collection and items, that all you can do. And again I have said is here is what you can you can add the files from the folders, and any type of document. I have already mentioned about that part. I have already talked about. And basically, again and again, very important part which I want to show you is when you have finished your data collection, you will be able to see all your Zotero data in C:users Sunita Zotero. Here is this SQLite file I was mentioning about. This SQLite file is the file where all this data, the right hand side data, that is called as a metadata or a bibliographic data, all that bibliographic data is saved in this file, and in the storage file all your full text is available. Okay, all your full text is available. So if you click on any of this folder, see here, this is a PDF which I have uploaded in my Zotero file. So whenever you are using Zotero and you want to make sure that whatever work I have done, I want to keep a backup of all the work. So tomorrow, I do not, if at all my Zotero gets crashed or my hard disk gets crashed, anything happens, I have the full backup of what my Zotero folder. You can rather keep a backup of Zotero folder where your full text as well as your metadata is stored. So then you don't have to worry. You can import this data. If you do not like Zotero tomorrow, there are tools which are available which will help you to import the data into that software. I mean, you can import the Zotero SQLite file. I will show you probably that also in Mendeley. Let us see. And then you have the full text with you, which is also available. So that is how, like, I can click on again one more collection. Let's say I'm writing article. I can click on article and go on adding the items here. If there are duplicate items, if there are any duplicate items, they will be listed here. There are no duplicate items, so there is no mention about it. Unfiled items, so some items which you have not put in any collection, they will be listed here. Whatever you delete will be put in the trash. For example, I have deleted something, that all has been put in the trash. I can delete that, clean my trash if at all required. And as I have said, I can click the tags. Tagging is very important so that you can put a cluster of the items as one topic that you think that, okay, the tags that I define, like I want to talk on digital preservation, open source, then I want to talk on PDF, I want to talk on, let us say, just file formats. So I can go on creating tags and cluster my articles into different tags, and I can put those tags here. So I think, and here I can check up the engines, and this option is very important. Now, if at all I want to sync with Zotero, manually I can sync later. I mean, you don't have to constantly syncing all the data with the Zotero server. You can sync manually later by entering your login and password details, and all these 23 items which I have created by defining this collection will be synced on my zotero.org server, which I have used here, the login account. Okay. So I think that's what I would like to talk about. Basically Zotero, there are many things, like many plugins you can install and then see how they work. There is still I will talk some more about it. You can get that there is a proper documentation which is available for Zotero. You can click on one by one every this hyperlink, and you will be able to see all the details which are provided here. There is a mailing list. There is a good active mailing list. What do I mean by a mailing list? You can write an email if you get any trouble and you are not able to get the answer to it. There are people who write to the mailing list and they get the answer to the mailing list. I mean, if you have any trouble in using Zotero, you can write to the Zotero forum and get the answer. As I have said, you can create groups and you can work in groups and create the library of articles that you are using for your research purpose. Yeah, there are people which you can know who all are using Zotero and their active group who are using it. So I have one follower where one student was working with me. And then these are the settings on your Zotero server with a login and password which I have used, Sunita Barve. So please understand, Zotero connector is required. Zotero standalone is the installation that I have used, and Zotero server, where I do not need to have the Zotero standalone installation. I can go on creating the references from Zotero server login and password, and I can use the references from that site as well. So this is about a small demonstration about Zotero. Now I'll just quickly show you how Mendeley looks like. I hope you have understood. And as I have told you, why I am been popularizing about Zotero is you can attach full text. So that's very important feature what Zotero has. And see, automatically item type will be selected properly, defined properly. If it is a book, see here, it has changed. It is a book, which I did not find that easily in Mendeley. Again, it's not that I do not like Mendeley, but it was the thing which I realized. Now, as soon as you want to use Mendeley, first thing you need is you have to create a login and password on the Mendeley server, which is a mandatory, which is not the case with Zotero. Okay, that is one thing. See here, unless I create a login and password on Mendeley server, which means Elsevier or the commercial platform, they want to know their software is used by whom, when. So unless I enter these details, whether it is a Mendeley, using Mendeley on the Elsevier server or downloading the desktop edition of Mendeley, unless I enter my login and password, I cannot use Mendeley at all. So I have created my login credentials on Mendeley server. I hope I remember my login and password. I always forget. Oh God. Yeah, I know. I have 1,000 passwords. Oh my God, what is my password? Hey. Oh gosh. What is the password? Has my now? Oh shit. Probably I'm not able to remember Mendeley login and password. One sec. I hope I remember. Quickly, if I remember, I will show you now. Otherwise, oh. Yeah, I think so. It worked. Okay. So this is my Mendeley installation, and it will try to show you the reference manager, blah, blah. Actually, it is the same. It looks like Zotero. There is no other change. Can you see here? Now, automatically, all the data that I have gathered, it is visible here because I have connected with my Mendeley login. And so it has connected me with the Mendeley server. And from there, it has picked up all the data and it is showing me here. Can you see here? All the data, it is almost similar, like middle plane, and I can add the notes, I can add the contents, I can add the collection, I can add folder. All that is basically the same. Now let us say if I want, for example, if you see here, I have used one folder, and now actually this is a paper. But when automatically Mendeley has retrieved it, it has tried to type as report. So some of the things, you know, you will need to manually, I had to see that they did not come properly in Mendeley when the data has come in Mendeley. Now, if at all I want to connect to Zotero, they have this option called as, in the options menu, Zotero connection. Okay, locate your Zotero. Let us say, let me try to show you now. Let me create one quickly and then we can stop probably. I will create one folder called as, select the name of the folder you would like to import. No, I want to add a new collection. Sorry. Create folder. Okay. I will give this name as Zotero data. Okay, now when I click on give this name as Zotero data, and what I will do is I will go to options and click on my Zotero SQLite file. Now where is my Zotero SQLite file? It is available on my C colon and my users, and then Sunita, and then Zotero, and this is what my file is. Okay, and then say apply, and I click on this. Okay. Now what will happen is automatically the data from Zotero will come into the, it should come here. That is how it should come here. So anyway, that you can check, but this is how Mendeley looks like. I do not very often use Mendeley, but it's all similar. Synchronized library. Does it has to click on synchronized library? Probably the synchronization business works, and then you may be able to see all the data in Mendeley. But I think, yeah, it is coming out. Can you see here on the screen? Below screen, you will be able to see. It will all synchronize the data from Zotero to Mendeley. Probably that is how Mendeley works. It is almost similar the way Zotero works. So you can try any of these. Either you want to, some of you are comfortable with Zotero, or some of you are comfortable with Mendeley. You can try. But the idea of giving this talk is you can attach the full text, which is a very good point with any of these reference management tools, and then your library remains intact, and you should make a practice. It's a kind of practice that you have to adopt to consistently using those references that you need for your research purpose and adding them into your Zotero library, which will kind of help you when you are writing your thesis. It will really help you. I think it's already 5:35, and as the time slot which is given to me is 1 hour, I will stop now. If you have any questions, maybe you can ask me.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
There are a few questions.
Let me close. Shall I close? Or okay. No, what has happened is kind of I have made something. Okay, yeah. Yeah, please tell me. Yeah.
Yes. So the first question, I mean, just one.
I don't know. I'm not able to see the full screen. Maybe once I do that.
Actually, one of the participants wants to know that which one is better to Zotero or Mendeley, but I think you have already answered.
I told you, I am a staunch follower of open source. I would recommend, but it's up to you.
Yes. Yeah. The next question is that the participant wants to know, what does sync option exactly do? Is it used to map with sync?
Sync is actually locally the data which you have used on the Zotero standalone machine, that will get this, all that records will be synced with the Zotero server or Mendeley server. The meaning of sync is locally whatever data you have added will be updated with that login and password on the Zotero server. So you are intact. So what may happen is you add some records into your login and password with the Zotero server, and then you also use the standalone machine where you go on collecting some records. Now there are some records on Zotero server, there are some records on your desktop. So you need to club them together at one point. That is called as syncing.
Thanks.
Ma'am, there is one question where they are asking which search engine, for the search engine, which browser will work better, Firefox or Microsoft Edge? I mean, the search engine will work better in which of the browsers?
What do I mean?
Search engine of Zotero.
Firefox and Chrome, they have. Microsoft Edge, they do not have yet connector with. They have the connector with Safari, Firefox and Chrome. They haven't come out with the Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge is very new, recent browser.
Yes. Okay.
One of the participants, I think, has tried using Zotero and has some concern, like I'm able to download and save full text PDF articles, but as you said, I couldn't export or share the folder with others. As
now,
any method can be adopted to export folder from Mendeley.
no, they see for exporting it again. Now I cannot exporting. There are various options, like you can export in variety of file formats, like BibTeX, RIS, mods, and many things are there. Maybe he can explore one of the one which works and then check. And it's, as I said, simplest way is to copy that folder, whole folder of Zotero, where your storage will have your full text and your SQLite file will have your metadata, and try to see importing with that. I think that should take care. If still he has the issue, maybe he can write to me individually and I can see.
Thank you. Any more questions, Meena?
Just something has come now, just a minute. While downloading along with the session, Zotero connector is available with Microsoft. Okay.
Okay.
I think just recently it has, now she has checked. So it is
Sorry,
available.
I have not checked because probably I have not checked. But on their documentation page, if I am not wrong, they have not mentioned Microsoft Edge. Have they mentioned? Or probably, if it is the case, fine. Yeah.
No other questions, Madhu.
Okay. So we thank you very much, madam, for an extremely systematic presentation and taking our participants through this practical session very, very systematically, step by step. Generally, in a practical session, when the participants are with you, it is very easy to interact and clear your doubts on the practical process. But in a virtual session like this, it is a challenge. But I must say that you have taken all the care in very methodically and thoroughly taking the participants through the procedure. Though the session was intended to cover just Zotero, it was very kind of you to also accommodate Mendeley with the sheer
there is
intention.
no big change in Mendeley, so I could just install it. Nothing great I had to do with Mendeley actually. So
just trying to share as much, I think, as you can for the benefit of the participants. So it was very, very effective session indeed. And thank you once again, madam. Thank you.
Thank you all the participants, and thank you Madhavi and Meghana for giving me opportunity to share my experience. Of course, I as well as a kind of learner as you all are, and I keep learning new things every day. So maybe I may not know few things, but thank you for all of you for updating if anything is missing from my side. And if you have any, I can help you out any way, I would be happy to help out. Yeah.
Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Okay, so some instructions for our participants before we end our day. Tomorrow we would share with you all a link to a recorded lecture on VOS Viewer, which is published on YouTube. VOS Viewer, or VOS Viewer as it is known, is a software that can help you in data visualization. It is an open source software, and VOS Viewer is a software tool for constructing and visualizing bibliometric networks. So the software was developed by Dr. Nies Jan Wijk Ik and Ludo Waltman from the Leiden University, Netherlands. You can watch it, listen to it at your own pace, at your own convenient time. It would be interesting for the researcher and useful tool for data visualization, and so we thought of sharing this link with you all. We meet again on 2nd December at 2 p.m. The Zoom link for which will be circulated to you through email. Please try to join at least 10 to 15 minutes prior to the session starting time. While logging in, please ensure that you use the same name with which you have registered for this program. This will help you to get on the platform with ease, since it helps our technical team to authenticate the participants. The link for feedback for today would be sent to you through email. Please fill up the feedback and submit it in time. For evaluation, as mentioned by us earlier, we are conducting 2 tests. The first test will be based on session 1 to session 5 and practical session 1 to 3. The test 1 will be posted by tomorrow. You will get the link for the test through email. We will be forming WhatsApp group of participants, and the link for the test would also be posted on the WhatsApp group. You would be receiving links to sessions as well as tests through email as well as WhatsApp group. Wish you good luck and bye for today, and see you on the 2nd December at 2 p.m. Thank you.